Beneath the surface of the known world lies a planet few have truly seen. A land where glowing caves pulse with an otherworldly light. Rivers shimmer in impossible shades of blue, and forests whisper in tongues older than time. The earth hides its greatest wonders in the shadows, where ancient forces sculpt realms beyond imagination. Today, we will take you on a journey into the unknown, where nature's hidden masterpieces wait to be uncovered. Prepare to step beyond the ordinary, because the greatest adventures begin where the maps end. In the heart of the South Pacific lies Bora Bora, an island that seems to have leapt from the pages of a dream. Its lagoon, a mesmerizing palette of blues and greens, encircles the island like a jeweled necklace. Towering above, Mount Otomanu pierces the sky, its jagged peaks softened by the embrace of lush tropical foliage. The overwater bungalows, iconic to Bora Bora, offer a seamless blend of luxury and nature, allowing visitors to wake to the gentle lapping of crystal-clear waters beneath them. As the sun sets, the horizon blazes with hues of orange and pink, casting a magical glow over the tranquil sea. The beauty of Bora Bora is not just seen but felt, a serene symphony that resonates with the soul. Journeying to the heart of Africa, we find the Okavango Delta in Botswana, a sprawling oasis that defies the arid surroundings. This labyrinth of waterways, lagoons, and islands is a sanctuary for wildlife, offering a spectacle of nature's grandeur. Gliding silently in a Mokoro canoe, one can witness elephants wading through lily-covered waters, lions lounging on sun-drenched banks, and a kaleidoscope of birdlife dancing in the air. The delta's seasonal floods breathe life into the landscape, creating a dynamic and ever-changing tapestry of ecosystems. Here, the harmony between land and water, predator and prey, paints a vivid picture of the circle of life in its most unspoiled form. Venturing north to Iceland, the ethereal beauty of Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon awaits. Icebergs, freshly calved from the Breiðamerkurjökull Glacier, drift serenely in the lagoon's azure waters, their crystalline structures reflecting shades of blue and white. Seals playfully navigate between these floating sculptures, while overhead, Arctic terns wheel and dive. The stillness is profound, broken only by the occasional creak and splash of ice meeting water. As night falls, the northern lights often grace the sky, their shimmering curtains of green and purple adding a celestial dimension to this frozen wonderland. In the remote reaches of Chilean Patagonia lies Torres del Paine National Park, a realm where mountains, glaciers, and lakes converge in a breathtaking display. The park's namesake granite towers rise abruptly from the Patagonian steppe, their sheer faces challenging the sky. Turquoise lakes fed by glacial melt mirror the towering peaks, creating scenes of unparalleled beauty. Guanacos roam the windswept plains, while condors soar gracefully above. The raw, untamed landscapes of Torres del Paine evoke a sense of adventure and discovery, a reminder of nature's power and majesty. Crossing continents to Asia, we arrive at Ha Long Bay in Vietnam, a seascape of mystical allure. Thousands of limestone karsts and islets, sculpted by eons of wind and water, jut dramatically from emerald waters. Traditional wooden junks sail gracefully among these formations, their sails catching the gentle breeze. Hidden caves and grottos, adorned with stalactites and stalagmites, beckon exploration. As dawn breaks, a delicate mist often shrouds the bay, lending an otherworldly atmosphere to this UNESCO World Heritage Site. Ha Long Bay's serene beauty captivates all who venture into its tranquil embrace. In the heart of the American Southwest lies Antelope Canyon, a slot canyon carved by the relentless forces of water and wind over millennia. Its narrow passageways, with undulating sandstone walls, glow with a warm, fiery hue as sunlight filters through narrow openings above. The play of light and shadow creates a mesmerizing dance, highlighting the intricate patterns and textures etched into the rock. Walking through the canyon feels like traversing a natural cathedral where each twist and turn reveals new wonders. Antelope Canyon is a testament to the artistry of nature, a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. In the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert lies Erg Chebi in Morocco, a sea of towering sand dunes that stretch as far as the eye can see. The dunes, sculpted by the ever-changing winds, rise up to 150 meters, their golden hues shifting with the angle of the sun. At dawn and dusk, the landscape transforms into a canvas of deep oranges and purples, creating a surreal and tranquil atmosphere. Camel caravans traverse the undulating sands, harking back to ancient trade routes. Under a canopy of stars, the desert exudes a profound sense of peace and infinity, a place where time seems to stand still. Journeying into the heart of China, we arrive at Zhangjiajie National Forest Park, a land seemingly sculpted by the gods. Towering sandstone pillars, some stretching over 1,000 meters into the sky, rise from dense, mist-shrouded valleys, their surfaces adorned with lush vegetation clinging tenaciously to the rock. These colossal formations, shaped over millennia by erosion, are said to have inspired the floating mountains in Avatar, and standing among them feels like stepping into another world. The Zhangjiajie Grand Canyon Glass Bridge, suspended above an awe-inspiring chasm, offers a dizzying perspective of the depths below, where emerald-green rivers wind through the valley floor. Walking across its transparent panels feels like floating in midair, an exhilarating experience that defies the senses. But the true magic of Zhangjiajie reveals itself at dawn. As the first light of day spills over the landscape, golden hues illuminate the peaks, and the morning mist swirls around their bases like a living entity. Silence blankets the scene, interrupted only by the distant call of birds or the rustling of leaves in the wind. Deep within the park, the Beilong Elevator, the highest outdoor lift in the world, ascends the sheer rock face, carrying visitors up nearly 330 meters in just over a minute. From the summit, the view is staggering, a labyrinth of stone stretching endlessly into the horizon, an ancient and untamed kingdom sculpted by time. Leaving Zhangjiajie's vertical wilderness behind, we descend into a realm hidden beneath the jungles of Vietnam, the colossal Hang Son Joong, the largest cave on Earth. Tucked away in Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park, this subterranean wonder was only discovered by the outside world in 2009. Stepping inside is like entering another planet. Towering stalagmites, some as high as 70 meters, rise from the cavern floor like ancient sentinels, while the cave's ceiling, breached by time, allows shafts of sunlight to pour in, nourishing pockets of jungle growing deep underground. Clouds form within the cavern, a phenomenon seen nowhere else on Earth, creating an eerie, dreamlike atmosphere. The cave's interior is so vast that a Boeing 747 could comfortably fly through its main passage. An underground river snakes its way through the darkness, its waters carving out the limestone over millions of years. The silence here is profound, broken only by the distant drip of water echoing through the immense chamber. Exploring Hang Son Joong is an expedition in itself, requiring multi-day treks and the assistance of expert guides. Crossing its cavernous expanse, one encounters a landscape untouched by time. Ancient fossils embedded in rock walls, colossal boulders smoothed by the persistent flow of water, and even a beach of fine white sand resting beneath the cathedral-like ceiling. Here, nature reigns supreme, a hidden world where the echoes of the past whisper through the darkness. Emerging from the cave's depths, we now set our sights on a place where water and rock engage in an eternal dance, Norway's Kjeragbolten. Perched 984 meters above the abyss of the Lysefjord, this legendary boulder is wedged precariously between two sheer cliffs, as if placed there by the hands of giants. The journey to reach it is not for the faint of heart. A strenuous hike across rugged terrain, steep inclines, and icy patches tests even the most experienced adventurers. But those who persist are rewarded with one of the most daring photo opportunities in the world, standing atop the boulder, with nothing but air beneath their feet and the fjord stretching far below. The landscape surrounding Kjeragbolten is an exhibition of Norway's untamed beauty. Towering granite cliffs, their surfaces weathered smooth by the elements, rise abruptly from the dark waters of Lysefjord, their reflections mirrored in the stillness below. On misty days, the clouds roll in, wrapping the cliffs in an ethereal embrace, making the rock appear to float in midair. The silence is profound, punctuated only by the distant cry of an eagle soaring overhead. Those brave enough to step onto Kjeragbolten itself must do so with steady nerves. The slightest misstep would send them plummeting nearly 1,000 meters to the waters below. Yet, for those who conquer their fear, standing upon this stone is an experience of pure exhilaration, a moment suspended between earth and sky. From the dizzying heights of Norway, we travel across continents to the surreal landscapes of Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat, an expanse of white stretching as far as the eye can see. During the dry season, the salt forms geometric patterns across the ground, a natural tessellation that seems almost otherworldly. But it is after the rains that Salar de Uyuni reveals its most breathtaking secret. A thin layer of water transforms the landscape into an infinite mirror, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. Clouds float upon the surface, and the horizon disappears, leaving visitors in a world where up and down become indistinguishable. Walking across the flooded salt flat feels like treading upon the heavens, every step dissolving into the endless reflection of the sky. The salt flats are not merely an optical wonder. They are also home to the striking Isla Incahuasi, a rocky island rising unexpectedly from the whiteness, covered in giant cacti that can reach up to 10 meters in height. From its summit, the 360-degree view is unparalleled, an unbroken panorama of shimmering salt, distant mountains, and a boundless sky. As night falls, the lack of light pollution reveals a celestial spectacle beyond imagination. The Milky Way stretches across the heavens, mirrored perfectly on the water's surface, creating the illusion of walking among the stars. Leaving behind the mirrored landscapes of Bolivia, we find ourselves in another of nature's improbable creations. The wave, a geological masterpiece hidden within the Arizona desert. This mesmerizing rock formation, sculpted over millions of years by wind and rain, resembles a frozen ocean of undulating sandstone. Swirls of red, orange, and yellow ripple across the rock, their patterns so fluid they seem to shift with the changing light. The trek to the wave is a challenge, requiring a permit and a long journey through an unforgiving desert landscape. But the sight that awaits is unlike anything else on Earth. As the sun moves across the sky, the colors of the wave deepen, shifting from warm golds to fiery reds. Shadows dance across the ridges, enhancing the illusion of movement in the stone. The sensation of walking through this landscape is surreal, as if stepping into a painting where reality bends and warps around you. The soft sandstone underfoot, sculpted into sinuous curves and hollows, adds to the dreamlike effect. In this quiet corner of the desert, time itself seems to stand still, leaving only the whispers of the wind and the echoes of ancient geological forces that shaped this place. Standing at the edge of the world, where ice and fire collide in an eternal struggle, we find ourselves in Antarctica's Blood Falls, a phenomenon so bizarre that it defies logic. Here, a waterfall of deep crimson spills from the tongue of the Taylor Glacier, staining the pristine white ice in a cascade that looks as though the Earth itself is bleeding. The illusion is startling, like something pulled from the pages of science fiction, yet the explanation lies in the depths of time. Trapped beneath the glacier for over 1 million years, an ancient lake rich in iron oxidizes upon contact with air, creating this eerie spectacle. The sight of red liquid streaming down the frozen landscape is haunting, a reminder that even in the most inhospitable places on Earth, nature continues to surprise. Blood Falls is but one of Antarctica's many secrets. Venturing deeper into this untouched wilderness, we find the breathtaking beauty of the Ross Ice Shelf, a floating mass of glacial ice the size of France. Towering cliffs of ice, their surfaces sculpted by relentless winds, rise dramatically from the Southern Ocean, reflecting the ever-changing hues of the Antarctic sky. Beneath this frozen kingdom, entire ecosystems flourish in the cold darkness, where creatures unseen by the human eye thrive in subglacial lakes sealed away from the surface for thousands of years. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the endless expanse of white, the silence of Antarctica feels almost sacred, a world apart, where time moves to the rhythm of ice and wind. Leaving behind the frozen landscapes of the South, we now journey to a place where fire and stone meet in a spectacle of perpetual motion. Deep within the Danakil Depression of Ethiopia, the Earth bears its molten heart in one of the most extreme environments on the planet. Here, the bubbling lava lake of Erta Ele churns within the crater of an active volcano, a seething cauldron of liquid rock that glows an infernal red against the night. Standing at the crater's edge, one can feel the heat radiating from below, the ground beneath trembling as gases escape in hissing bursts. The air is thick with the scent of sulfur, a reminder of the raw, untamed forces at play beneath the Earth's crust. But the Danakil Depression is more than just fire. It is a landscape of surreal wonder. Vast salt flats stretch endlessly beneath the unrelenting sun, their surfaces shimmering like a mirror reflecting the sky above. Pools of acid in unnatural shades of neon green and yellow bubble up from the ground, their chemical compositions so extreme that they resemble alien worlds rather than anything found on Earth. Geysers hiss, and mineral formations rise like coral from a prehistoric ocean, their colors vivid against the barren backdrop. This is one of the hottest and lowest places on Earth, a land where life clings to existence in defiance of nature's harshest conditions. Crossing the continents once more, we find ourselves on the remote island of Socotra, adrift in the Arabian Sea. Isolated for millions of years, this island is home to some of the most otherworldly flora and fauna on the planet. Chief among them is the iconic dragon's blood tree, its umbrella-shaped canopy standing in stark contrast against the arid landscape. The tree earns its name from the crimson sap that seeps from its bark, a substance once prized by ancient civilizations for its medicinal and mystical properties. Walking through a forest of these peculiar trees feels like stepping onto an alien planet, where evolution has followed a path unlike any other. But Socotra's strangeness does not end with its trees. Towering limestone caves, some filled with underground rivers, cut deep into the island's heart, while towering dunes of white sand roll toward an ocean of crystalline blue. The coastline is dotted with surreal rock formations, weathered by wind and time into bizarre shapes that stand as silent sentinels to the island's long isolation. The waters surrounding Socotra teem with marine life found nowhere else. Their vibrant coral reefs, a hidden world beneath the waves. This is a place untouched by time, a biological treasure trove where nature's imagination has run wild. From one remote paradise to another, we now set our sights on the surreal landscape of Pamukkale, Turkey, where thermal waters have sculpted terraces of gleaming white. Known as the Cotton Castle, these cascading pools of mineral-rich water are a sight to behold, their milky blue hues contrasting against the stark whiteness of the calcium deposits. Formed over thousands of years, these terraces are nature's own infinity pools, where visitors can wade through warm, healing waters while gazing upon a landscape that seems almost too perfect to be real. But Pamukkale is more than just a natural wonder. It is a place steeped in history. Overlooking the terraces are the ruins of Hierapolis, an ancient city built by the Romans to take advantage of the thermal waters. Here, crumbling amphitheaters, intricately carved tombs, and weathered colonnades stand as echoes of a time long past. The juxtaposition of ancient stone and pristine white terraces creates an atmosphere of timelessness, where history and nature intertwine in perfect harmony. As the sun sets, casting a golden glow over the pools, the reflections dance like liquid fire upon the surface, a mesmerizing display of color and light. Leaving behind the warm waters of Turkey, we descend into the heart of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, where another subterranean marvel awaits. The cenotes, sacred sinkholes formed by the collapse of limestone caves, hold waters so clear they seem to merge seamlessly with the air above. These natural wells, once revered by the ancient Maya as portals to the underworld, are scattered across the region, each one unique in its beauty. Some are open to the sky, their turquoise waters framed by lush jungle, while others remain hidden in deep caverns, illuminated only by shafts of light filtering through narrow openings above. Swimming in a cenote is an experience unlike any other. The water, fresh and cool, carries an otherworldly stillness, its clarity revealing intricate rock formations beneath the surface. Stalactites, some thousands of years old, hang like frozen daggers from the ceilings of the cave cenotes, their surfaces glistening with mineral deposits. The silence is profound, broken only by the sound of water dripping from above or the occasional ripple caused by a fish darting through the shadows. These cenotes, scattered like jewels across the Yucatan, are reminders of a hidden world beneath our feet, a place where time slows and the boundary between earth and water dissolves. Our journey now takes us to the Namib Desert, where the sands of time have sculpted one of the most mesmerizing landscapes on the planet. Here, in the heart of Namibia, lies Dedvlei, a hauntingly beautiful clay pan surrounded by towering dunes of fiery red. Scattered across its cracked surface stand the skeletal remains of ancient acacia trees, their twisted forms frozen in time for over 900 years. Devoid of moisture, these trees have not decayed, but instead remain as ghostly relics of a long-lost oasis, their blackened silhouettes stark against the white clay and deep orange dunes. The surrounding Namib Desert is a land of contrasts, where towering dunes, some reaching heights of over 300 meters, ripple like waves in an ocean of sand. As the wind shifts, the dunes appear to breathe, their surfaces constantly reshaped by invisible hands. The desert is alive, its creatures adapted to the extreme conditions. Sidewinder snakes slither across the hot sand. Beetles harvest moisture from morning fog, and oryx navigate the dunes with an elegance that defies the harshness of their environment. At sunrise, the first light of day casts long shadows across the sand, turning the landscape into a masterpiece of color and form. And as night falls, the desert sky explodes into a celestial wonderland, the Milky Way stretching across the heavens in a dazzling display of cosmic beauty. High in the Himalayas, hidden away from the modern world, lies the kingdom of Bhutan, a land of breathtaking landscapes and mystical monasteries perched upon sheer cliffs. Among its many wonders, the most striking is Paro Taktsang, or the Tiger's Nest Monastery, clinging to the edge of a 3,000-foot precipice. The journey to this sacred site is no ordinary trek. It is a pilgrimage through dense pine forests, past fluttering prayer flags that whisper in the wind, and along winding paths that offer glimpses of the chasm below. As mist rises from the valley, the monastery emerges, its golden roofs gleaming in the sunlight, a vision of serenity and devotion. According to legend, Guru Rinpoche, the founder of Buddhism in Bhutan, arrived at this very spot on the back of a flying tigress, meditating in the caves for 3 months before subduing local demons. Stepping into the monastery's dimly lit halls, the scent of burning incense lingers in the air, mingling with the flickering glow of butter lamps. Monks in crimson robes chant ancient mantras, their voices harmonizing with the wind outside. From the balconies, the view is unparalleled, a panorama of emerald valleys stretching into infinity, untouched by time. Here, in this sacred sanctuary, the noise of the world fades, replaced by an overwhelming sense of peace, as if the monastery itself floats between heaven and earth. Leaving the sacred heights of Bhutan, we descend into another hidden paradise, far from the well-trodden paths of civilization. Deep in the South Pacific, the island of Tuvalu shimmers like a forgotten gem, its turquoise lagoons and pristine coral reefs untouched by mass tourism. This tiny island nation, one of the least visited in the world, offers a glimpse into a way of life that remains blissfully simple. Here, time slows to the rhythm of the waves, and the laughter of children playing on powder-white beaches carries on the warm ocean breeze. What makes Tuvalu truly remarkable is not just its beauty, but its fragility. The highest point on the island stands barely 5 meters above sea level, making it one of the most vulnerable places on Earth to rising waters. Yet, despite this looming threat, life continues as it has for generations. Fishermen set out at dawn in traditional outrigger canoes, navigating the crystal-clear waters with the skill of their ancestors. Women weave intricate mats from pandan leaves, their hands moving with practiced grace. In the evenings, as the sun dips below the horizon in a fiery display of color, the entire island gathers for communal feasts, where fresh-caught fish and coconut-infused dishes are shared under a sky ablaze with stars. Tuvalu is more than just a tropical paradise. It is a reminder of the delicate balance between humanity and nature, a fleeting world of beauty that may one day be lost to the sea. From the warm waters of the Pacific, we journey to a place where nature's artistry reaches its most intricate form, the marble caves of Patagonia. Hidden along the shores of General Carrera Lake, these surreal formations are a masterpiece of color and light. Over thousands of years, the The relentless motion of water has sculpted the marble into swirling caverns, tunnels, and pillars, their smooth surfaces reflecting shades of blue that shift with the lake's changing moods. Venturing into the caves by boat, the water's surface glows an ethereal turquoise, casting shimmering patterns onto the rock above. The walls, veined with streaks of white, gray, and gold, appear almost fluid, as if frozen in the midst of a celestial dance. Some chambers are so narrow that only a kayak can navigate through, revealing hidden grottos where the play of light creates illusions of depth and movement. The silence within these marble sanctuaries is profound, broken only by the gentle lapping of water against stone. In this place, nature has become an artist, sculpting with patience and precision, transforming the very bones of the earth into a living, breathing gallery of wonder. Venturing northward, we now find ourselves standing before the ethereal glow of Finland's northern lights, where the sky itself becomes a canvas for the universe's most mesmerizing performance. Deep within the Arctic Circle, beneath a dome of endless winter sky, the aurora borealis awakens, unfurling ribbons of green, purple, and gold across the heavens. The spectacle is silent, yet it speaks to something primal within, a celestial ballet choreographed by solar winds and magnetic fields. In the heart of Lapland, where snow blankets the landscape like a quilt of diamonds, the lights dance above frozen lakes and silent forests. Reindeer move like shadows against the moonlit tundra, their breath visible in the crisp air. Traditional Sami tents, known as lavus, glow softly from within, where flickering fires keep the cold at bay. Those who witness the northern lights for the first time often find themselves at a loss for words. How does one describe the indescribable? The lights ripple and twist, forming shapes that exist only for a fleeting moment before dissolving into the night. The experience is humbling, a reminder that the universe is alive, forever in motion, painting stories across the sky that have no beginning and no end. From the frozen north, we plunge into the depths of the African wilderness, where another kind of light ignites the night, the bioluminescent glow of Lake Natron in Tanzania. Unlike any other body of water on Earth, Lake Natron is both beautiful and deadly. Its surface, a deep crimson red due to high concentrations of salt and algae, appears almost blood-like, especially when reflected beneath the golden light of the setting sun. The lake's waters are so alkaline that they can calcify animals that become trapped within, preserving their forms like eerie sculptures in a natural graveyard. Yet, despite its harsh conditions, life flourishes here in the most unexpected ways. Millions of flamingos gather along its shores, their pink plumage contrasting against the lake's fiery hues. The air is filled with their calls as they wade gracefully through the shallows, their reflections stretching out beside them. At night, another transformation takes place. The water comes alive with an electric blue glow, the result of bioluminescent organisms that thrive in the extreme environment. This ghostly light, shifting and pulsing with the movement of the water, makes the lake appear like something conjured from another world, a place where beauty and danger exist in perfect balance. We now take our journey to one of the world's most isolated and hauntingly beautiful destinations, Easter Island. Scattered across its rolling green hills stand the enigmatic moai, giant stone statues carved by the Rapa Nui people centuries ago. These silent sentinels, with their solemn expressions and weathered features, have stood watch over the island for generations, their purpose still shrouded in mystery. Some believe they represent deified ancestors, their gazes fixed upon the land to offer protection. Others speculate that they hold celestial significance, aligned with the movements of the stars. Walking among these ancient monoliths, one cannot help but feel a sense of reverence. The largest of them, known as El Gigante, stands an astonishing 72 feet tall, though it was never completed. Many moai were toppled in conflicts long past, their massive forms lying where they fell, half buried in the earth. The island itself, with its volcanic craters, black sand beaches, and windswept cliffs, exudes an air of quiet isolation. Far removed from the rest of the world, Easter Island feels like a place frozen in time, a reminder of both human ingenuity and the fragility of civilization. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, where the canopy stretches like an emerald sea and rivers weave through the wilderness like silver veins, lies one of nature's most enigmatic wonders, the meeting of waters. Here, the Rio Negro and the Amazon River's Solimoes branch flow side by side without mixing, creating a striking contrast between black and muddy brown waters. For nearly 4 miles, the two rivers run parallel, refusing to merge due to differences in temperature, speed, and density. It is a spectacle both surreal and scientific, a liquid boundary between worlds. Standing at the river's edge or gliding over the surface in a small boat, one can see the dramatic divide as if an artist has painted a perfect line across the water. The Rio Negro, dark as brewed coffee, moves sluggishly, warmed by the tannins of decomposed jungle vegetation. The Solimoes, laden with sediment from the distant Andes, rushes forward in a faster, cooler current. The result is a mesmerizing tug-of-war, a phenomenon that seems almost defiant of nature's rules. As the sun sets over the jungle, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and violet, the contrast between the two rivers becomes even more pronounced, a reminder that even in the wildest corners of the earth, nature holds mysteries yet to be unraveled. From the depths of the rainforest, we journey across the ocean to a place where the sky meets the sea in an illusion of infinity, the Maldives. Scattered across the Indian Ocean like a string of pearls, these atolls are a vision of paradise, where crystal-clear waters lap against powdery white beaches, and overwater bungalows seem to float upon the horizon. Yet beyond their postcard-perfect beauty, the Maldives holds a secret that few have witnessed firsthand: the Sea of Stars. On the beaches of Vadhu Island, an otherworldly glow appears as night falls, turning the shoreline into a shimmering cosmos. This ethereal phenomenon is caused by bioluminescent plankton, microscopic organisms that emit a brilliant blue light when disturbed. With each crashing wave and every footprint in the wet sand, tiny sparks of neon blue flicker and glow, mirroring the constellations above. Wading into the water feels like stepping into a dream as the waves light up around you, pulsing with an electric radiance. Some describe it as walking through stardust, others as swimming among galaxies. Whatever the interpretation, it is a sight so rare, so astonishing, that it seems to transcend reality itself. As dawn breaks over the atolls, our journey takes us beneath the waves to another hidden world, the Great Barrier Reef, the largest living structure on Earth. Stretching over 1,400 miles along Australia's coast, this underwater metropolis teems with life in every imaginable form. Coral gardens, shaped like intricate labyrinths, burst with color in hues of lavender, jade, and coral pink. Schools of fish dart between the coral spires, their scales flashing iridescent in the dappled sunlight. Majestic manta rays glide effortlessly through the currents, while sea turtles, ancient mariners of the deep, navigate their way through the labyrinthine reefs. Diving into this submerged wonderland, one is met with an overwhelming sense of awe. The coral, though seemingly static, is alive, pulsing with the rhythms of the ocean. Anemones sway like dancers in the tide, their delicate tendrils offering shelter to clownfish. Far below, deep trenches plunge into darkness, their mysteries still unexplored. The reef is a world unto itself, an ecosystem so vast and intricate that it can be seen from space. Yet, despite its grandeur, it is fragile, a delicate masterpiece threatened by the shifting climate. To witness its beauty is to understand the urgency of its preservation, for places like this exist on the edge of time, vulnerable yet enduring, caught between eternity and oblivion. Leaving the underwater realm, we rise once more into the mountains, where the Italian Dolomites pierce the sky like jagged shards of stone. Unlike the smooth, rolling peaks of other mountain ranges, the Dolomites are raw and untamed, their vertical faces sculpted by the elements into towering spires and sheer cliffs. Rising above alpine meadows and emerald lakes, these peaks seem almost unreal, as if the earth itself had been carved by a celestial hand. At sunrise, the mountains come alive with color. The first rays of light ignite the peaks in a phenomenon known as alpenglow, turning the limestone summits into blazing shades of rose and gold. In the valleys below, wooden chalets dot the hillsides, nestled among fields of wildflowers that stretch toward the horizon. The air is crisp and pure, carrying the scent of pine and earth. Those who venture into these mountains find themselves traversing landscapes that feel both ancient and untouched, hidden valleys where time moves slower, where glacial streams carve their way through rock, and where the echoes of distant cowbells mix with the whisper of the wind. One of the Dolomites' most iconic wonders is Lago di Braies, a lake so stunning it seems almost unreal. Its waters, a deep shade of turquoise, reflect the surrounding peaks with mirror-like clarity. Wooden rowboats, their varnished hulls gleaming in the sunlight, drift lazily across the surface, while hikers stand in silent reverence at the shore, unable to tear their gaze away from the scene before them. It is a place where nature's beauty reaches its purest form, untouched by the chaos of the outside world. As night falls over the Namib Desert, we turn our gaze skyward to witness another of the Earth's greatest wonders, the Atacama Desert in Chile, home to the clearest night skies on the planet. Here, in one of the driest places on Earth, the absence of moisture in the air allows for an unparalleled view of the cosmos. The Milky Way arcs across the heavens in dazzling clarity, its dense clusters of stars shining like scattered diamonds against a backdrop of infinite darkness. Telescopes dot the landscape, their lenses trained on distant galaxies, yet no equipment is needed to witness the spectacle above. Shooting stars streak across the sky, while nebulae glow faintly, their gaseous tendrils swirling in hues of violet and blue. The sheer scale of the universe becomes overwhelming, a humbling reminder of humanity's fleeting place within it. In the Atacama, the line between earth and sky blurs, and for a moment, one feels weightless, adrift among the stars. In the remote highlands of Iceland, where fire and ice coexist in a landscape shaped by the rawest forces of nature, lies Landmannalaugar, a place so surreal it defies description. This remote region, accessible only by rugged mountain roads, is a masterpiece of geological artistry, where rhyolite mountains shimmer in an impossible spectrum of colors. Shades of orange, gold, deep green, and even blue ripple across the hills, their hues shifting with the changing light. These mountains, formed by volcanic activity and sculpted by centuries of wind and water, create an otherworldly terrain that feels more like a dream than reality. Landmannalaugar is a land of contrasts, bubbling hot springs, their waters rich with minerals, steam in the cool mountain air, offering weary travelers a chance to soak while surrounded by towering peaks. Black lava fields stretch like frozen rivers across the valleys, remnants of ancient eruptions that once shaped the land. The trails that weave through this wilderness lead to breathtaking viewpoints, where vast, untouched landscapes unfold before the eyes. Here, solitude is absolute, broken only by the whisper of the wind or the distant cry of an Arctic fox. In this wild and untamed land, the earth speaks in colors, and the silence holds stories written in stone. From Iceland's kaleidoscopic mountains, we travel to another landscape shaped by volcanic fury, the Tsingy de Bemaraha in Madagascar. This labyrinth of razor-sharp limestone pinnacles, known as the Stone Forest, is one of the most alien landscapes on Earth. Rising like jagged teeth from the ground, these needle-like formations stretch as far as the eye can see, their eerie gray spires resembling a fortress built by time itself. Walking through this terrain is a challenge. Narrow crevices and suspended bridges offer the only passage through the maze, while deep chasms lurk between the towering rocks. Despite its harshness, the Tsingy is teeming with life. Lemurs leap effortlessly between the jagged spires, their calls echoing through the narrow passages. Strange reptiles, adapted to this vertical world, camouflage themselves against the limestone, their movements almost imperceptible. The Tsingy is not merely a place to behold, it is a world to navigate, an intricate puzzle where every step is a test of agility. To stand atop one of its needle-like summits, looking out over the vast wilderness beyond, is to feel as though one has stepped into another dimension, a place where nature has rewritten the rules of what is possible. From the remote reaches of Madagascar, we journey to another place that seems untouched by time, the ancient city of Petra, hidden within the rose-red cliffs of Jordan. Known as the Lost City, Petra is a marvel of human ingenuity, its grand facades carved directly into the sandstone cliffs. The entrance to this hidden wonder is through the Saiku, a narrow canyon that winds its way between towering rock walls, their surfaces etched by centuries of wind and water. As the passage opens up, the treasury emerges, its intricate columns and elaborate carvings glowing in the warm light, a vision so breathtaking it seems unreal. But Petra is more than just the treasury. Beyond its famous facade lies an entire city carved into the rock. Vast temples, tombs, and amphitheaters stretching across the desert landscape. Climbing to the monastery, one of Petra's most secluded treasures, rewards visitors with a sweeping view of the rugged canyons beyond. At night, when thousands of candles illuminate the CQ and the treasury, the city takes on an ethereal glow, as if the spirits of the past still wander its ancient streets. This is a place where history lingers in the air, where every stone holds a story, and where the grandeur of an ancient civilization is preserved in the heart of the desert. Leaving the echoes of Petra behind, we venture deep into the frozen wilderness of Russia's Siberian expanse, where Lake Baikal, the deepest and oldest freshwater lake on Earth, transforms into an ethereal wonderland each winter. When temperatures plummet, the lake's surface freezes into a vast, unbroken sheet of ice so clear that one can see meters down into the depths below. Cracks, frozen in time, create intricate patterns, while trapped air bubbles form delicate white spheres suspended in the ice like celestial constellations. Walking across the frozen surface feels like stepping on another world, where the earth has paused in a moment of pristine stillness. But Baikal is more than just its winter spectacle. In the warmer months, its waters shimmer a deep sapphire blue, holding a staggering 20% of the world's freshwater supply. The lake is home to an ecosystem unlike any other, including the Nerpa seal, the only freshwater seal species in existence. Legend speaks of Baikal as a sacred place, a realm of spirits and ancient mysteries. Shamans once gathered on Olkhon Island, performing rituals to honor the lake's power. Even today, standing at its shores, watching the sun dip below the horizon, one cannot help but feel that Baikal is more than just a lake. It is a living entity, timeless and boundless. From the icy realm of Siberia, we now descend into the fiery depths of the earth, to the Darvaza gas crater, ominously known as the Door to Hell. Located in the Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan, this blazing pit of fire has burned continuously for over 5 decades. Originally the result of a drilling mishap in the 1970s, geologists set the escaping gas alight, expecting it to burn out within days. Instead, the flames have raged ever since, turning the crater into a haunting spectacle. Standing at its edge, the heat is overpowering, waves of searing air distorting the night sky above. The glow from the flames bathes the desert in an eerie orange light, illuminating the cracked earth surrounding it. Looking down into the inferno, one cannot help but feel the sheer force of nature's unpredictability, a reminder that the earth holds powers beyond human control. The Darvaza crater is both mesmerizing and unsettling, a vision of both destruction and endurance, a fire that refuses to die. From the burning heart of the desert, we travel to a place where the earth breathes in clouds. Mount Roraima, a tabletop mountain rising from the jungles of Venezuela, like the foundation of an ancient world. This mystical tepui, one of the oldest geological formations on the planet, is so isolated that it harbors species found nowhere else. Its sheer cliffs, shrouded in mist, give way to an otherworldly plateau where strange rock formations, sculpted by time and wind, create a landscape that feels almost prehistoric. Climbing to Roraima's summit is a journey through shifting ecosystems, from dense rainforests to barren stone fields where pools of crystal-clear water collect in natural basins. The summit itself, often veiled in mist, is a land of perpetual mystery. Blackened rock pillars rise like forgotten monuments, while exotic carnivorous plants thrive in the nutrient-poor soil. Standing atop this ancient world, gazing over the endless jungle below, one feels as though they have reached the edge of time, a place untouched by the modern world, where nature still reigns in its purest form. Hidden beneath the dense jungle canopy of the Philippines, the Puerto Princesa underground river carves its way through limestone caves in a spectacle of nature's quiet power. This subterranean marvel, stretching over 5 miles, is one of the longest navigable underground rivers in the world, flowing through cathedral-like chambers adorned with stalactites and stalagmites. Entering the cave by boat, the outside world disappears, replaced by a cavernous expanse where the only sounds are the gentle lapping of water and the distant flutter of bats clinging to the rock ceiling. The limestone formations, sculpted over millions of years, resemble frozen waterfalls, jagged teeth, and even shapes that seem eerily human. As the glow of the boat's lanterns flickers against the walls, shadows stretch and shift, creating an atmosphere that feels almost supernatural. Deep within this hidden world, the river continues its timeless journey, a silent testament to nature's ability to carve beauty from darkness. Far from the subterranean wonders of the Philippines, Ethiopia's Simien Mountains rise like the remnants of an ancient fortress, their jagged peaks piercing the sky. These dramatic highlands, often compared to the Grand Canyon for their sheer cliffs and plunging valleys, are among Africa's most breathtaking landscapes. The air is crisp and pure, carrying the scent of wild thyme and distant wood smoke from small villages tucked into the mountainsides. This is a land of extremes, where sunlight bathes golden meadows one moment and mist rolls over the cliffs the next, obscuring the world in a veil of white. Among these towering precipices, rare creatures roam, gelada baboons, with their thick manes and fiery red chests, gather in great troops, while the elusive Ethiopian wolf, the rarest canid on Earth, stalks the high-altitude plains. Hiking along the ridges, the vastness of the landscape is overwhelming, a reminder of nature's ability to sculpt realms of unimaginable beauty. On the opposite side of the world, the Faroe Islands emerge from the North Atlantic like a forgotten land of myth and legend. Towering sea cliffs, cloaked in green and crowned with mist, rise dramatically from the ocean, their surfaces carved by the relentless assault of wind and waves. Waterfalls tumble straight from the cliffs into the sea below, a sight so surreal that it seems like something from a dream. Life here is dictated by the rhythms of nature, the ever-changing skies, the crashing surf, the call of seabirds wheeling overhead. The village of Gassadalur, once one of the most isolated places in Europe, sits at the edge of a cliff, its brightly colored houses standing defiant against the elements. It is a place where the modern world feels distant, where the power of the natural world remains raw and untamed. Traveling from the Atlantic's rugged shores to the depths of the Indian Ocean, we arrive at the mesmerizing island of Madagascar, where the Avenue of the Baobab stands like a natural colonnade of giants. These ancient trees, some over 800 years old, rise up to 30 meters into the sky, their thick, gnarled trunks supporting a sparse canopy of branches that resemble roots turned toward the heavens. Walking along this dirt road at dawn, when the first light of day casts golden shadows across the landscape, the scene is one of pure enchantment. These baobabs have witnessed centuries of history, their trunks scarred by time and tradition, their presence almost spiritual. Locals believe that these trees hold the spirits of their ancestors, and in their quiet majesty, it is easy to understand why. High above the world, Nepal's Gokyo lakes shimmer in shades of turquoise, cradled by the snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas. These sacred glacial lakes, nestled at altitudes above 4,700 meters, are among the highest freshwater lakes on Earth. The journey to reach them is no easy feat. Trekking through rugged terrain, battling thin air and freezing temperatures, each step is a challenge. But the reward is beyond measure. As the icy winds ripple across the water's surface, the mountains reflect with crystal clarity, creating a mirror image so perfect it feels unreal. Buddhist prayer flags, strung between cairns, flutter in the wind, their colors stark against the endless blue sky. This is a place untouched by time, where the grandeur of nature is at its most humbling. In the heart of Brazil, where the rainforest gives way to an expanse of crystalline pools and shifting dunes, lies Lençóis Maranhenses, a landscape so surreal that it appears as a mirage. Unlike any other desert, this one comes alive with water. During the rainy season, thousands of lagoons fill the spaces between the dunes, their waters an impossible shade of blue. From above, the landscape resembles a mosaic of rippling sand and liquid sapphires, a living contradiction of desert and oasis. Walking barefoot along the dunes, feeling the fine grains shift beneath your feet before plunging into the cool, freshwater pools, is an experience of pure wonder. The silence is profound, broken only by the whispering wind and the occasional splash of fish darting through the temporary lakes. Nestled deep within the volcanic wilderness of Central Oregon, hidden from the casual eye, lies a surreal realm known as the Painted Hills. These ancient mounds do not shout for attention. They mesmerize in silence, in subtle curves and impossible colors. Here, time becomes visible. The hills rise in soft, undulating waves of crimson, amber, gold, and gray, each band a chapter written by eons of shifting climates and ash falls. As you walk the winding boardwalks, it feels less like hiking and more like entering a dream carefully sculpted by the earth itself. The ground underfoot is cracked and delicate, flaking into chalky patterns that shimmer under the sun like the scales of some buried mythic creature. The silence is thick. No engines, no hum of modernity, only the soft murmur of wind sweeping through the ravines. Stand before the red hill just after dawn, and the world feels hushed in reverence. The iron-rich soil ignites with the first rays, glowing like embered velvet. By noon, the yellow and gray striations come alive, breathing warmth into the dry air. These hills change with the light, with the season, with the mood of the sky. In the rain, the colors darken to bold, saturated hues, almost too vivid to believe. In winter, dustings of snow lend them an alien fragility. But no matter when you arrive, there is always that sense. This place is sacred. Not in a human way, not in a named religion, but in the way stone remembers things we never will. There are no towering cliffs, no roaring rivers, only layers of silence, color, and ancient breath. The Painted Hills do not perform, they simply exist. And in doing so, they make you pause, hold your breath, and listen for what the land is still trying to say. As the light shifts, shadows stretch long and soft across the folds of earth, painting the already vivid hills with deeper emotion. You move slower here, not out of effort, but awe, as if the ground itself demands respect, not to be hurried or overlooked. Each curve, each ridge, seems to whisper an untold story, some ancient lullaby sung long before humans ever arrived. There's a profound intimacy to it all. You're not gazing at a landscape, you're standing inside a memory, cradled in the patience of geological time. The very air seems charged with reverence, carrying the scent of sun-baked soil and distant juniper. Birds glide quietly overhead, and somewhere nearby, the crunch of a rabbit slipping through dry brush is the only interruption to your reverie. Here, nature speaks in subtle strokes. It doesn't need grandeur to command your soul. Just honesty, just truth etched into sediment. When you leave the Painted Hills, it feels less like walking away and more like waking up. The colors stay behind your eyes, the silence inside your chest. You realize the land hasn't just shown you beauty, it's shown you patience, grace, and the kind of stillness that changes everything. Tucked deep within the Czech Republic's Bohemian Switzerland National Park is a gateway not just to another place, but to another imagination. Pravchitska Brana, the largest natural sandstone arch in Europe, rises from the forest like a relic of myth. At first, you may think it an illusion, a trick of shadow and foliage, but as the trees part and your eyes adjust to its colossal span, reality surrenders. The arch towers above like a bridge to nowhere, its curve impossibly smooth, worn by eons of wind and weather into something at once fragile and invincible. Surrounding the arch, jagged sandstone towers erupt from the earth like the ruins of some forgotten castle, overgrown and untouched by time. The silence here is vast, broken only by the soft rustle of pine needles underfoot and the occasional echo of a hawk crying overhead. Morning mist clings to the rocks, giving everything a spectral glow, while trails meander like veins through the forest below, guiding you through labyrinthine gorges and sudden clearings. An old chateau stands nearby, red-roofed and half-swallowed by forest, its windows like watching eyes. From its terrace, you look out not just over land, but into legend. The views stretch into Germany, into layers of hills and shadows that feel less like a landscape and more like a whispered story. In autumn, the forest burns with color, scarlet, amber, gold, each tree igniting the ground with flame. In winter, snow hushes the world, and the arch becomes a monument to quiet strength. Pravchitska Brana does not demand attention. It commands it by being precisely what it is: impossible, enduring, and more beautiful than anything built by human hands. In the farthest reaches of the Philippines, nestled among the lush archipelagos of Palawan, lies a hidden lagoon so crystalline it appears as though the earth herself carved a mirror to reflect paradise. Big Lagoon in El Nido is no ordinary body of water. It is a sacred corridor through jagged karst cliffs that rise like blackened cathedrals from the sea, their spires draped in tropical green. Paddle slowly into its narrow entrance, and the world grows quiet. The only sound is the gentle lapping of water against your kayak, the occasional rustle of leaves high above, and the distant echo of bird calls carried on the wind. The water below is impossibly clear. Every coral, every fish, every ripple on the sand is visible in crystalline detail. It is as if the ocean itself has turned to glass. As you glide deeper into the lagoon, the cliffs tighten around you, closing the world in. Sunlight filters through in beams, catching the sparkle of the water and turning the surface into a dance of liquid diamonds. Jellyfish the size of coins drift harmlessly past, iridescent and unhurried. Above, vines dangle like nature's chandeliers, swaying in a rhythm older than the tides. Midway in, the lagoon opens wide into a silent cathedral of turquoise. The water glows in hues that defy naming, somewhere between jade and sapphire, aquamarine and moonlight. Here, floating on your back in absolute stillness, the cliffs rising on all sides, one can hear the heartbeat of the world itself. Time softens, worry dissolves. The only truth is the feeling of being wholly and utterly embraced by nature. There are no engines here, no crowds, just a few lucky souls who've discovered this sanctuary and speak of it only in hushed tones. Big Lagoon is not for the rushed. It asks you to slow, to breathe, to surrender. And in that surrender, it offers something rare, serenity that feels like revelation. Beyond the lush valleys and bamboo groves of northern Laos, there lies a cave so vast it seems to swallow light itself. Kong Lor Cave, a subterranean cathedral carved by the Hinboon River. The journey begins in a sleepy riverside village where wooden boats glide soundlessly across jade-colored water. Then, without fanfare, the river disappears into the mouth of the cave and into darkness. Inside, time stretches. The walls rise to impossible heights, arching like the ceiling of a lost temple. Shadows ripple across the water, caught in the gentle glow of headlamps, and the sound of the engine is muffled by 1,000 tons of rock. Stalactites drip from the ceiling like melting chandeliers, and narrow passages open suddenly into colossal chambers. It's a realm that feels alien, a dream world carved in limestone and darkness. And when you emerge, hours later, into a hidden valley on the other side, untouched, silent, alive, You feel as though you've passed through the underworld and been reborn. In the far northwest corner of Washington, where the land splinters into fingers of forest and fog, lies the mystical enclave of Cape Flattery. Here, the continent exhales for the final time before falling into the Pacific, and the world sharpens into wind, salt, and sky. Dense rainforest gives way to jagged cliffs that tumble into restless waters, and the scent of wet cedar follows you down wooden boardwalks worn smooth by the tread of curious wanderers. As you emerge at the edge, it feels like stepping beyond the map. The sea roars below, and massive sea stacks rise like stone titans from the foam. Their silhouettes shift with the mist, and seabirds circle them in endless dance. The cliffs are stained in deep rust and emerald moss, carved into grottos and arches by centuries of surf and storm. The Pacific slams against the shore with a thunder that you feel in your chest, not just your ears. Stand long enough, and the clouds themselves seem to lean in closer. Cape Flattery doesn't unfold with loud color or glamour. It's a place of texture and breath, of subtlety and shadow. When the light breaks through, it's as if the world has opened an eyelid. The water gleams jade and indigo, and somewhere out beyond the horizon, whales breach and vanish like myths too shy to stay. You are standing on the ancestral land of the Makah people, and the spirit of the place hums under every root and stone. This is the edge of the earth, not because of geography, but because of how deeply it draws you inward. In the hush between gusts, the ocean speaks. It says, "You are small," and that is a beautiful thing. In the windswept far north of Scotland, beyond the last outposts of civilization, a raw and ancient drama plays out where the land meets the sea. This is Sandwood Bay, a place where myth lives in the shape of a landscape. It is not easily reached. 4 miles of solitary trail across heathered moors and peat-stained streams. But the reward is a vision that seems too wild, too vast to be real. A beach appears out of nowhere, a mile-long expanse of untouched golden sand, backed by windswept dunes and watched over by cliffs that seem to remember the footsteps of giants. And there, rising like a sentinel from the churning waves, stands Boachail, a sea stack sculpted by centuries of wind and water. Its silhouette cuts into the horizon like a rune, part warning, part welcome. The Atlantic roars against the cliffs with the fury of 1,000 storms, the salt mist curling in the air like the breath of some ancient sea god. And yet, despite its ferocity, Sandwood Bay has a quiet majesty. The wind howls not with chaos, but with clarity. There are no roads, no signs, no fences, just a sense of vastness that settles deep into the soul. Deer move across the land like ghosts. The beach is scattered with driftwood and the shattered remains of shipwrecks, as if the ocean has tried to write its own story here and left the pages in pieces for you to read. The light never stays still. At one moment, the bay is golden and ethereal. The next, it's cloaked in steel and shadow. And all the while, the silence presses in, not empty but immense, filled with the thunder of the sea and the slow, eternal heartbeat of the earth. In the far north of Iceland, hidden within the folds of the Diamond Circle, Dettifoss roars like the voice of creation itself. Unlike the more polished and postcard-ready waterfalls to the south, Dettifoss is raw, unrelenting, a force of pure elemental rage. Standing at its edge is not an act of sightseeing. It is a confrontation with power. The ground trembles as the glacial meltwater of the mighty Jökulsá á Fjöllum plunges into the canyon below. A towering curtain of white fury, Dettifoss is Europe's most powerful waterfall, and to witness it is to feel yourself rendered small and fragile in the face of something greater. There are no fences here, no comforting barriers, just wet stone, howling wind, and the thunder of water pounding ancient rock with a violence that carves the earth itself. Mist billows upward in thick clouds, often visible long before the waterfall itself. It clings to skin, hair, and clothes, carrying with it the scent of minerals and glacial cold. Rainbows sometimes dance in the spray, flickering like spirits born of ice and sunlight. They appear and vanish in seconds, adding a strange tenderness to the fury of the scene. The cliffs around the falls are rugged and bare, sculpted by millennia of volcanic upheaval and erosion. Lichen clings stubbornly to the rocks, and the wind carries stories from the highlands. Tales of trolls turned to stone, of gods once walking among mortals, of fire and frost eternally entwined. Even the sky here seems wilder, with shifting clouds casting fleeting shadows that race across the plateau. Dettifoss demands attention. It is not a background for quiet reflection, but a symphony of thunder and awe. Visitors don't linger with idle thoughts. They stand frozen, breathless, the sound echoing in their bones, their souls caught between terror and wonder. For a moment, all distractions are washed away, and only the sheer truth of nature remains. Hidden in the velvet folds of Japan's lesser-known Shikoku Island lies Iya Valley, a realm of hanging mists and ageless serenity. Steep mountains cradle narrow roads that twist like silver ribbons through thick forests of cedar and pine. This land feels untouched by the hands of time, its beauty whispered rather than shouted. Thatched roof farmhouses, their walls darkened with age and rain, cling to impossibly steep hillsides, looking out over chasms that plunge into jade rivers far below. And spanning these gorges are the valley's most iconic features, ancient vine bridges built centuries ago by samurai fleeing pursuit. Suspended high above rushing water, they creak underfoot, each step a breath held in wonder and fear. The river sings far below, carving its song into stone and silence. Fog drapes the valley each morning, lending a dreamlike veil to every leaf and stone. Here, the sacred and the mundane exist side by side, and every breath feels like a pilgrimage. Carved deep into the Mojave Desert, hidden between the cracked earth and sun-bleached horizons, lies the ethereal wonder of the Mojave lava tubes. This is no Grand Canyon, no postcard vista. It's a doorway into the underground, a place that swallows light and breath and gives them back in something close to magic. From above, it's unassuming, just a dirt turnoff along a dusty road, a stairwell cut into blackened basalt. But descend those iron steps and the world above disappears. A chill brushes your skin, sharp and unexpected, as the desert heat fades into silence. You step into darkness, thick, absolute, and then raise your eyes. Above you, a skylight. A portal punched through ancient volcanic stone. Beams of sunlight stab through in stark columns, tangible as silver spears. Dust floats in the shafts like suspended stars. It feels like entering the lungs of the earth. The rock walls are smooth, scorched, and pocked with textures shaped by explosive birth. Walk further in, and the silence grows deeper, interrupted only by the echo of your own footfalls. Light becomes a memory, but turn back, just enough. And that beam, that celestial spotlight, slices through again. It doesn't just illuminate, it blesses. The entire chamber is baptized in radiance, and for a moment, You understand what it means to feel the divine in stone and shadow. The lava tubes aren't wide. They're not tourist polished. And that's their strength. You crawl, duck, emerge. You move through them like a secret. And when you climb back into the light, blinking into the blazing sky, you don't leave the tubes behind. They cling to you. In the silence you carry, in the weight of what you saw, a sunbeam falling through ancient fire into the hidden dark. In a remote valley of northern Portugal, where terraced vineyards spill like cascading green ribbons down steep hillsides, a place exists that seems painted by the hands of dreamers. Cistelo, often called the Little Portuguese Tibet, is a village suspended between sky and slope, where ancient footpaths snake through an undulating sea of green. The landscape is sculpted by generations of human harmony with the land. Each terrace carved from the mountainside, a testament to patience, to resilience, to a slower, wiser way of life. Stone houses cluster along narrow lanes, their walls warm with the soft hues of time, their windows peering out over an expanse that defies belief. The air carries the scent of earth and distant rain, of grape leaves and wood smoke. There are no engines here, only the occasional clatter of hooves or the rustle of sheep brushing past stone fences as they're guided by quiet shepherds along routes centuries old. Even the river, the Vez, moves gently through the valley, its waters clear and sunlit, cradled by ancient stones smoothed by time. Above the village, the terraces stretch like echoes of forgotten civilizations, layer upon layer of cultivated symmetry, each one a step toward the heavens. In spring, the landscape erupts with life. The fields flash with wildflowers, the vines glisten with new growth, and the hills seem to breathe. During golden hour, the terraces glow like stacked coins beneath a descending sun, and the light lingers, unwilling to part from such serene beauty. Fog rolls in with the grace of a sigh, blanketing the valleys in soft silver, leaving only the peaks exposed like islands above a dreaming sea. But it's not just the view that casts a spell. It's the silence, the gentleness of movement, the slow unfolding of life lived in tune with the breath of the land. You walk the trails and hear your own heartbeat more clearly. You rest beside a stone wall and feel the warmth of centuries pressed into the rock. A dog might trail behind you for a while. No leash, no words, just shared quiet. Locals greet you not with rehearsed welcomes, but with a nod, a glance that says, "We understand something here that's easy to forget elsewhere." By nightfall, the stars awaken above Cistelo like ancient storytellers returning to finish their tales. There are no city lights to wash them out, only the hush of the mountains and the soft chorus of crickets in the grass. The terraces, now hidden in the dark, still hold the memory of sunlight. The village exhales. A candle flickers in a window. The scent of bread drifts through a shutter. And for a moment, beneath that endless, eternal sky, it is enough simply to be. High in the shadowy folds of Japan's Iya Valley, hidden among the forested mountains of Shikoku Island, there lies a gorge so steep and mysterious, it has remained largely untouched for centuries. The Iya Valley is a realm of mists and moss, of vine bridges suspended over emerald rivers, of villages perched precariously on sheer cliffs like forgotten watchtowers. Mist coils along the ridgelines at dawn, weaving through cedar trees that rise like pillars of an ancient shrine. The valley is narrow and wild, with switchback roads that cling to mountainsides and vanish into thickets of bamboo. This is no place for tour buses or crowds. It is for the curious, the quiet, the reverent. The Kazurabashi Vine Bridge is one of the valley's oldest secrets. Built by hand centuries ago using mountain vines and wooden planks, it sways 45 feet above the Aya River, creaking and groaning with every step. Cross it, and you are transported, suspended not just in the air, but in a time when monks, warriors, and fugitives used these very paths to vanish from the known world. Below, the river is a ribbon of jade, tumbling over smooth stones, disappearing into hidden pools that shimmer like liquid quartz. There are places to bathe, unseen from the trail. Steam rises from natural springs, warming the air with whispers of sulfur and mineral purity. Wildflowers bloom in defiance along the rocky banks. Scarlet, gold, violet, like forgotten offerings to unseen gods. Small villages still cling to the slopes here, thatched roof homes and terraced fields shaped by hand, their people living in quiet rhythm with the land. There are no neon signs, no fast trains, no luxury resorts, only winding paths, the rustle of leaves, the call of hawks circling high above. At night, the valley glows not with electric light, but with fireflies. They drift between the trees like floating embers, their gentle flashes reflected in the still waters below. You sleep not in hotels, but in ryokan inns, wrapped in tatami and silence, with the scent of cedar smoke and river stone lingering in the air. In Aya, the mountains speak in hushes, and the world beyond seems a distant memory. It is not a place to conquer, but to be humbled by, to listen, to wait, and to slowly become part of the forest's breath. On the western shores of Madagascar, where baobabs rise like ancient sentinels and tides shape worlds anew, lies the surreal beauty of Tsingy de Bemaraha. This is a forest not of trees, but of stone, limestone spires that thrust skyward like frozen lightning. Razor sharp and silver gray, the Tsingy form an otherworldly maze, impassable without ropes and ladders. But those who dare to enter are rewarded with vistas unlike any other. Forests suspended in air, bridges stretched across yawning chasms, and caverns that echo with the calls of lemurs and the drip of unseen waters. The Tsingy seem alive, reacting to every shift in light and cloud. Shadows stretch and twist across the jagged rock, and the wind whistles through narrow canyons with an eerie, almost melodic tone. In the stillness, the land feels sacred. It's a place where the earth has remembered how to dream in sharp edges and soaring silence. No place on the planet feels quite like this, alien and yet intensely alive. Beneath the sun-drenched skies of New Mexico, far from the neon pull of Santa Fe or the adobe rhythm of Taos, lies a sacred place known as Plaza Blanca, the White Place. This ghostly valley near Abiquiu unfolds in alabaster silence, a cathedral of pale stone carved not by faith, but by eons of wind and water. It rises suddenly from the desert scrub, otherworldly and strange, vertical walls of chalky rock spiking like frozen waves or the bones of some slumbering giant. Georgia O'Keeffe once wandered this place with brush and canvas, drawn by its stark drama and impossible light. And when you stand there, surrounded by the jagged spires, you understand. There's a kind of stillness that wraps around your chest, tight and reverent, as if the land itself is watching you. Narrow pathways twist between the cliffs, leading deeper into the stone maze. Overhead, hawks circle silently, catching thermals that drift from the canyon floor. Every angle shifts the mood. One moment the rock glows honey gold in the sun. The next it blushes lavender as clouds pass overhead. No sound here save the soft hush of breeze through crevices and the distant rustle of dry sagebrush. The air is thin, electric, alive with the quiet pulse of ancient energy. There's no entry gate, no ticket booth, just a humble dirt road and a trailhead that fades into the rocks. But what waits beyond is a realm of sacred geometry and desert breath, untouched by time and unburdened by crowd. Plaza Blanca doesn't ask for worship, but you'll feel it stir in you regardless. That awe, that wonder, that silent knowing that you are standing inside something eternal. On a rocky outcrop above the turquoise embrace of the Aegean Sea, a monastic wonder clings to the cliffs as though carved from the very bones of the mountain itself. The monastery of Panagia Hozoviotissa, on the Greek island of Amorgos, rises like a white whisper against the sheer face of stone, so narrow and high that it almost disappears when viewed from the sea below. It is a miracle of balance and faith, suspended above the water as if caught in eternal prayer. The climb to reach it is a winding path of stone stairs, each turn revealing a little more of the structure, each breath filled with salt air and time carried on the wind. Built in the 11th century, the monastery feels less like architecture and more like a vision, its whitewashed walls glowing against the cliff, its windows small and humble, like the eyes of monks who have looked out over this same sea for centuries. Upon entering, the world softens. Candlelight flickers against ancient icons, and the scent of incense weaves through the narrow halls. Every surface bears the weight of history. Scraped stone, worn wood, walls kissed by the hands of generations. Outside, the drop is vertiginous. The sea stretches to infinity, a canvas of shifting blue that catches the wind and throws it back as song. The cliffs fall straight to the water, sheer and unyielding, and yet here, the monastery rests, unshaken. The view is not just vast, it is humbling. A reminder of how small we are in the face of sky and sea, and yet how enduring our longing is to reach toward the divine. Panagia Hozoviotissa doesn't impose. It welcomes. It stands not as a monument to religion, but as a love letter written in stone to silence, solitude, and sky. At the edge of Vietnam's remote Quang Binh province, a narrow fissure in the limestone opens into a void so immense it swallows not just light, but sound, sense, and the very concept of scale. This is Sun Joong Cave, an underground kingdom vast enough to house a city block, with clouds forming inside its chambers and jungles thriving where the roof has collapsed and allowed the sun to penetrate. Approaching its entrance is an expedition in itself, through dense rainforest, across rivers that twist like silver veins, past villages that vanish into green. Then, suddenly, the mouth of the cave appears, a black wound in the mountain, humid breath escaping from its depths like the exhalation of some ancient beast. Step inside, and the world shifts. The air cools drastically. The soundscape changes. Drips echo into silence, magnified by cavernous acoustics that feel as though they could swallow your very thoughts. You descend slowly, ropes, ladders, the occasional swing across an abyss, and then emerge into a cathedral of stone. Gigantic stalagmites rise like prehistoric towers. Stalagmites the size of buildings reach toward ceilings hung with delicate mineral lace. But it's the daylight inside that astounds. Through collapsed ceilings called dolines, the sun pierces down in golden shafts, illuminating whole ecosystems that defy logic. Trees stretch toward the light. Ferns and moss carpet the cave floor. Butterflies drift lazily among foliage never touched by the outside world. It's as if a forgotten Eden has been sealed away for millennia, waiting to be found again. Further still, underground rivers run with cold, clear water, carving smooth paths through rock older than history. In some places, the passage narrows to just a body's width, squeezing explorers into the belly of the earth. In others, it opens into chambers so vast they seem to defy architecture, defy nature, defy belief. To sleep within Son Joong is to dwell inside the pulse of the planet. The darkness is absolute. Stars are replaced by glowworms, flickering along cave walls like distant constellations. The wind is a whisper from ancient crevices, and the ground hums with subtle energy. One awakes not refreshed, but reborn, as if the cave has reached into something primal and returned it to light. On the windswept edge of the Namib Desert, hidden behind dunes that stretch like frozen waves, lies the hauntingly beautiful ghost town of Kolmanskop. Once a thriving diamond boomtown, now a sand-filled relic of faded opulence, Kolmanskop is where nature reclaims what man tried to conquer. Sunlight slants through shattered windows, illuminating abandoned ballrooms buried waist-deep in ochre sand. Wallpaper peels like tired skin from cracked walls, and the wind sighs through forgotten doorways with voices of the past. Every room is a scene from an otherworldly dream, chairs half sunken in drifted sand, staircases that lead to nowhere, and pianos whose notes have long been swallowed by silence. Despite its decay, Kolmanskop holds a strange, melancholic beauty. At dawn, the town glows golden, bathed in the same light that once shimmered on diamonds. It is a museum without walls, where every grain of sand carries a story, and every shadow hints at a memory that refuses to be erased. High in the folds of the Blue Ridge Mountains, tucked into the gentle wilds of western North Carolina, lies a quiet miracle known as Craggy Pinnacle. This is not a peak of jagged arrogance or alpine severity. It's a rounded crown cloaked in rhododendron and clouds, a place that reveals its beauty with soft thunder and whispered breath. The road that climbs to it, the Blue Ridge Parkway, twists like a ribbon unfurling, and at milepost 364, a short trail beckons. From the parking lot, you step into a tunnel of twisted trees, their limbs gnarled and cloaked in moss, as if shaped by winds that remember the old gods. Mist clings low, curling around your ankles, dampening sound and sharpening scent. Every footstep feels ceremonial. The path climbs gently but purposefully, curving through a tunnel of living sculpture. When the forest breaks, the world opens. You emerge at the summit, and suddenly, the view surrounds you. A 360-degree panorama of the Blue Ridge, layered in blues and greens, rolling like waves in slow motion. If the clouds hang low, they lap at the mountaintops like sea foam. If the sky is clear, the light paints every ridge in gold. In June, the rhododendrons bloom, violent bursts of magenta exploding from the green, and the air hums with bees and bird call. But Craggy is not about spectacle. It's about stillness, the kind that descends into your chest and stays there. Sit on one of the stone benches, feel the wind against your face, and let the hush of elevation pull everything else away. There's no conquest here, no summit photo required, just the gentle revelation of a world still willing to be beautiful, if you're quiet enough to see it. In the shadowy folds of the Swiss Jura Mountains, hidden where the forest thickens and the trail becomes more suggestion than path, a marvel waits, unspoiled and unsung. Creux du Vin, an immense natural amphitheater carved into limestone, rises with silent grandeur from a bed of mist. Its cliffs, almost vertical and 160 meters high, form a perfect crescent over a kilometer wide. From afar, it appears like the very edge of the world, a place where the earth forgot to close its pages, leaving behind this majestic scar as proof of some primal battle between water, wind, and stone. Up here above the treetops, the air carries the scent of lichen and distant snow. Eagles circle on unseen currents, their silhouettes stark against a sky so wide it seems to touch the ends of time. The drop below is dizzying, a sheer plunge into a basin filled with whispers, the echo of your own breath bouncing back at you with 1,000 years of history folded in. At sunrise, the stone blazes gold, casting long shadows across the pine-spotted slopes. Fog often curls within the amphitheater like a sleeping giant's breath, and for moments at a time, the world becomes a monochrome painting of rock, cloud, and light. There are no fences, no warning signs, only the silent understanding that nature rules here. Ibex scale the cliffs like apparitions, their hooves barely making a sound. You sit at the edge, shoes hanging over the void, and something ancient stirs in your chest. A sense of scale, of awe, of humility. Creux du Vent isn't a destination. It's a revelation, carved from the bones of the earth and left exposed, waiting for those brave or curious enough to find it. In the desolate expanse of Bolivia's Altiplano, there lies a place that defies the laws of perspective, bending the horizon into something dreamlike and infinite. Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat, stretches beyond vision in every direction, a blinding white canvas under the clearest skies on Earth. In the dry season, the land is a mosaic of hexagonal salt patterns, cracked and gleaming, as if the planet itself had crystallized into sacred geometry. But it is during the rains that Salar becomes otherworldly. A thin sheet of water spreads across the plain, transforming the salt flat into a mirror of staggering perfection. Sky and land become indistinguishable. Clouds float beneath your feet. Stars twinkle both above and below. The viewer is suspended in a realm without up or down, only the illusion of endless space, broken occasionally by the distant silhouette of a traveler, a flamingo, or a solitary cactus-studded island that rises like a mirage from the silver sea. Here, sound evaporates. There are no trees to rustle, no buildings to echo. Only the gentle hiss of wind sweeping across the mirrored surface and the muffled splash of footsteps in ankle-deep water. To walk in Salar de Uyuni is to tread through a celestial painting, every movement creating ripples across the heavens. It is a place where time seems irrelevant, where the sunrise blends seamlessly into afternoon, and dusk melts into a symphony of stars more brilliant than anywhere else on the globe. Locals speak of the Salar with reverence. It is not just a salt flat. It is a living presence, a guardian of ancient memories. Beneath the crust, there lies a wealth of lithium, the lifeblood of the future. Yet above it all, this world remains untouched, unspoiled. It asks for silence. It gives wonder in return. Wrapped in the embrace of the Caucasus Mountains, a surreal spectacle blooms in the remote village of Ushguli, Georgia. Perched high above the clouds at nearly 2,200 meters, this is one of the highest continuously inhabited settlements in Europe. Yet, its true power lies in its stillness. Ancient stone towers rise like sentinels above weathered homes, each telling stories older than any living soul. The mountains cradle this village like a secret, their snow-draped shoulders glowing under soft alpine light. Here, time doesn't pass, it pauses. Horses roam freely across wildflower meadows, and narrow cobblestone paths wind through fields whispering with wind. The scent of burning wood from humble hearths drifts through the air, mixing with the crisp chill of glacier-fed streams. When the first snow falls, the entire valley turns to a silvery poem, a monochrome world where silence reigns, and every breath feels sacred. Ushguli is not for the hurried traveler. It's for those who seek the soul of the earth, untouched and eternal. Along the deep folds of Tennessee's Cumberland Plateau, hidden beyond the reach of most maps and minds, lies a glen so enchantingly lush it feels plucked from a forgotten myth. Walls of stone wrapped in moss rise like green temples, and threading between them, dancing over smooth rock, is the silvery ribbon of the Fiery Gizzard Trail. The name alone sparks curiosity, a strange blend of fire and earth. But what it delivers is something deeper, a pilgrimage through the pulsing heart of Appalachian wilderness. The trail winds for miles, each bend revealing a new marvel. Fern-covered boulders tumble like giants' dice. Trees older than memory stretch skyward, their bark scrawled with time. But the heart of this hidden world is the gorge itself, where water tumbles in sheeted veils, and the sound of it becomes your soundtrack, an eternal hymn of motion and life. There are swimming holes here, clear as blown glass and rimmed with sun-dappled rock. There are cliffs that catch the light and hold it in amber patterns, and caves where the air tastes like stone and shadow. Butterflies flicker across the path, their wings shimmering like living stained glass, and all around, the dense breath of the forest, damp and green and humming with unseen life. Hike long enough, and you'll reach Raven Point, where the canopy parts and the entire valley spills open before you, a carpet of treetops rolling toward the horizon like a breathing thing. Few places remain this wild, this untouched, this fiercely itself. The Fiery Gizzard doesn't just offer a trail, it offers a transformation, a slow shedding of the noise and weight we carry, until all that remains is your heartbeat, your breath, and the river's song guiding you through a realm where nature reigns unbroken. Hidden among the jagged peaks of northern Spain's Picos de Europa lies a realm where mist floats like ancient spirits between the mountains, and time stands still between each breath. Bulnes is not a village one stumbles upon. It must be reached by foot or funicular, and even then, it feels as though you've slipped behind the curtain of the ordinary world. Here, stone houses huddle together, as if protecting themselves against the wind, and the air carries the faint scent of chimney smoke and wild herbs drifting from terraced gardens. Shepherds still lead flocks along paths worn into the hillsides by generations of footfall. The cobbled lanes echo with the history of a people who have endured through snowstorms, silence, and solitude. Mountains rise like titans on every side, their cliffs cloaked in swirling fog and crowned in ice. You can hear the call of eagles long before you see them, circling like omens in the sky. Everything here feels larger, more elemental, less like landscape, more like mythology carved into stone and sky. At dawn, the entire valley seems to exhale. The mist dissolves slowly into the light, unveiling waterfalls that stream like silver threads down from secret heights. Every step deeper into Bulnes is a step further away from the constructed world, into something purer, harsher, and yet more comforting in its truth. It's a place that asks nothing but your presence and rewards it with silence and the sweep of unfiltered nature. There are no storefronts, no signs, no instructions, just the raw, weather-worn face of a mountain village still whispering in the old tongue. In Bulnes, you do not visit. You return to something your soul remembers, part of the endless green, held in the arms of the earth's original dreaming. In the Scottish Highlands, hidden between the folds of mist-wrapped mountains, lies a glen untouched by time. Glen Etive. There are no grand signs or bustling crowds here, only a single-lane road curling through dramatic valleys and shadowed peaks. The land breathes with solemnity, its silence punctuated by the rush of waterfalls tumbling over ancient stone. Glen Etive does not beg to be noticed. It simply waits, magnificent and still. Rivers gleam like liquid silver, tracing elegant lines between heather-covered hills. Deer, quiet and watchful, stand in the open without fear, as if understanding that this place belongs to a different kind of rhythm. The mountains here don't shout. They look like ancient giants at rest, cloaked in ever-shifting veils of mist that drift and curl as though the very clouds are trying to linger a little longer over this sacred place. There's a quiet magic in the way the light moves, changing the color of the grass from emerald to gold within a heartbeat, painting the cliffs with shadows that dance and dissolve with each passing minute. Photographers and filmmakers know Glen Etive for its haunting beauty, yet even they cannot capture its full essence. To see it through a lens is to grasp only a fraction of what it offers to the naked soul. Walking here feels less like exploration and more like return. Return to a place untouched by the grasping hands of time, where the world speaks in hushes and hums, and every bend in the valley holds another secret you're somehow meant to find. There are spots where the river narrows, carving deep into smooth rock to form pools of glassy water that shimmer with unseen depth. Bathing in them is a rite of passage for those who find this place. The water is cold, biting, pure, and awakening. It sears the senses with a clarity that humbles. When night falls in Glen Etive, darkness is total and absolute. The sky, free from the light of cities, becomes a vault of infinite stars, reflected perfectly in the still rivers below. The land sleeps not in silence, but in harmony, with owl cries echoing across the glen and the whisper of wind in the heather as lullaby. High above the Andean clouds in northern Peru, lost amid the folds of jungle and mist, sits the fortress of Cuelap, a city in the sky, older than the Inca, yet shrouded in mystery. Massive stone walls, some rising over 60 feet high, encircle this mountaintop citadel like the ramparts of a forgotten realm. Built by the Chachapoya people, known as the Warriors of the Clouds, Cuelap is a labyrinth of circular stone homes, ceremonial platforms, and moss-covered staircases. The jungle presses in on all sides, reclaiming what was once teeming with life. Vines curl around carved stones, and orchids bloom from ancient cracks. When the mist rolls in, it cloaks everything in spectral softness, transforming the ruins into a dream half-remembered. Unlike its famous cousin to the south, Cuelap remains quiet, undiscovered by the currents of global tourism. But to walk its misty corridors is to hear the echo of civilizations long past, a whisper in the fog, waiting to be heard again. Deep in the Ozark Highlands of Arkansas, lost among whispering trees and shifting fog, there lies a place called Hawksbill Crag, known locally as Whitaker Point. To reach it is to follow the rhythm of the forest, damp leaves underfoot, the perfume of pine and decaying wood, shafts of sunlight like golden arrows piercing the canopy. The hike is neither grueling nor trivial. It's meditative. As you move through thickets and mossy hollows, the world grows quieter, the trees taller, the shadows deeper, and then, abruptly, the land ends. The crag juts out from a cliffside like the beak of a giant bird, suspended in air, defying reason. From its edge, the wilderness spreads in every direction. Waves of rolling hills blanketed in green or red or gold, depending on the season. Mist drifts through the valleys, rising like spirits from the underworld, while birds soar beneath your feet, tracing lazy arcs in the silence. Stand on that stone perch, and time loosens its grip. Your breath slows, your gaze softens. Everything else, noise, obligation, distraction, falls away. There is no cell signal here, no souvenir shop, just stone, sky, and solitude. Hawksbill Crag is the kind of place people dream of without knowing it. It's not designed, it simply exists. And because of that, it feels like the truth. Sit long enough at the edge, and the wind begins to carry your thoughts away, scattering them across the forest like leaves. It's a place that doesn't shout its beauty. It whispers it directly into your chest. And long after you've left, you'll still feel the weight of that silence. Still see the endless tapestry of wild hills, and still crave the moment when you stood at the world's edge and felt, even for a breath, completely and beautifully still. Where the deep greens of the Carpathians roll into hidden valleys and fog-draped meadows, a jewel rests untouched by time. Lake St. Anna in Romania. Formed in the ancient crater of a long-extinct volcano, it is the only lake of its kind in the country. A perfect circle of water cradled by forest, breathing quietly beneath an ever-changing sky. The journey to reach it feels like descending into the memory of the earth itself. Pines grow thick and tall, crowding the path as if conspiring to keep the lake a secret. When you emerge, it lies before you like a mirror that has seen 1,000 years and still refuses to age. There is no pollution here. No motorboats, no city sound, not even the usual clamor of tourists. Instead, dragonflies skitter across the surface like dancers in a dream, and the stillness is broken only by the occasional plop of a fish beneath the glass. The waters are so clear they seem unreal, blue in some light, green in others, always rippling with mystery. It is said that the air itself is purer here, charged by minerals and silence, capable of healing simply by being breathed in. The trees lean over the lake protectively, their reflections melting into the water like brushstrokes in an old painting. Mist often curls along the surface in the early hours, turning the lake into a cauldron of silver and shadow. To stand at the edge of St. Anna is to be caught between worlds, between fire and water, between what was and what remains. The legends speak of sacrifice, of transformation, of souls that wander still. But when you're there, you understand without needing the stories. You feel the old magic thrumming through the soil, through the wind, through your very bones. Deep in the Malaysian state of Sarawak, within the emerald lungs of Borneo, lies a realm beneath the earth where daylight dares not tread. This is the Mulu Cave system, a subterranean world so vast and intricate, it stretches imagination to its breaking point. Among these caverns is the Sarawak Chamber, the largest known cave chamber in the world, so immense it could fit 40 Boeing 747s without their wings touching. To enter is to leave behind the world of sound and sun, and descend into the earth's quiet cathedral. The limestone walls are sculpted with the care of centuries. Pillars of stone rise like organ pipes into darkness, and in some sections, the cave ceilings vanish into black voids where even light feels swallowed. Beneath your feet, subterranean rivers snake through narrow chasms, their gurgles and splashes echoing into infinite space. The air is damp, ancient, and tinged with the musky scent of guano and minerals. In the massive deer cave, Millions of bats cling to the roof like shifting shadows. Each evening, they pour out in a vast, swirling cyclone, an exodus so precise and powerful it looks like smoke being pulled by an invisible hand. Watching this unfold at twilight, with the jungle silhouetted against a burning sky, is to witness a phenomenon untouched by modernity. Farther in, the Clearwater cave system hides an underground river that glows in filtered beams of light, its waters so clear and cold they seem unreal. Faint echoes of dripping water form a meditative rhythm, punctuated only by the soft flutters of unseen wings. Stalactites hang like frozen daggers above pools of obsidian darkness, and columns of stone stretch skyward in silent reverence. The deeper one goes, the more the cave transforms from a geological wonder into something spiritual. It feels like being within the Earth's secret heart, protected and untouched, suspended in eternal twilight. Here, the pulse of the planet beats slow and steady, echoing in every step and every breath. In the far northeast of India, wrapped in the cascading folds of the Khasi Hills, the village of Nongriat reveals one of nature's most extraordinary collaborations with humankind: the living root bridges. These are not built, but grown, guided over decades by the skilled hands of the indigenous Khasi people, who coax the aerial roots of the ficus tree across roaring rivers and steep ravines. The result is a bridge that breathes, flexes, and endures. Covered in moss and alive with tiny insects, the roots twist together like braided ropes, forming structures that have stood for generations. The jungle here is thick and dripping, alive with birdsong and the scent of wet earth. Waterfalls tumble from unseen cliffs, feeding turquoise pools where villagers bathe in quiet communion with the forest. To walk across a living bridge is to experience the sacred ingenuity of patience and harmony with nature. Each step is a testament to a culture that sees time not in years, but in roots and rain. Hidden away in the farthest reaches of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, the black rocks of Marquette rise like obsidian guardians over the icy surge of Lake Superior. They are ancient, older than bones, older than trees, volcanic remnants forged over 1 billion years ago. Jagged, dark, and elemental, these formations are not content to simply exist. They challenge you. Climbing them feels like stepping onto the shoulders of giants, each stone absorbing the heat of the sun and radiating it back into your bones. Waves crash at their base in rhythmic fury, painting the black stones slick and gleaming, a canvas of motion and sound. The air tastes of pine and steel, with gusts that carry the ghosts of freighters and forgotten storms. It's a place that defies classification, not quite a beach, not quite a cliff. A kind of natural cathedral where young daredevils leap into the frigid depths and poets sit with notebooks that remain forever unfinished. Even in the summer, the waters below sting with glacial cold, yet they beckon with impossible clarity. Beneath the surface lie rocks worn smooth by millennia of water and shafts of light that pierce the blue in divine beams. There are no signs, no rails, no artificial edges. This place is still wild, still free. In the winter, the scene transforms. Frost grips the edges of the rock. The lake snarls beneath a crust of ice, and snow drapes the dark crags in silence. But no matter the season, the black rocks pulse with a primal energy, one that humbles, centers, and pulls you out of yourself until you remember what it means to stand somewhere that doesn't care who you are, only that you came. In the far east of Iceland, where paved roads surrender to gravel and the world narrows into silence, a place of surreal stillness opens before you. The Studlagil Canyon is carved not just into the earth, but into the memory of anyone who stands before it. Its basalt columns rise in perfect symmetry, row upon row of hexagonal stone that look too ordered to be natural. They flank a river of blue-green meltwater so vibrant it seems dyed by the sky. Once hidden beneath a raging glacial torrent, the canyon was only revealed in recent years, as hydroelectric changes shifted the river's path and bared this cathedral of stone to the sun. The approach is unassuming. Grassy hills, scattered sheep, and wind tugging at your coat. Then, suddenly, the land parts, and you're staring into another realm. The basalt walls are colossal, shaped by ancient volcanic fire, and cooled in such perfect timing that they formed like honeycomb, a structure so rhythmic it feels like music made physical. The water, calm and slow, runs like liquid jade between the columns, catching the light and flinging it back in shimmering shards. To walk along the edge is to teeter on the border between chaos and order. Birds nest in the crevices, their calls sharp and wild in the canyon's echoing stillness. A descent path leads to the base, where you can stand dwarfed by stone and feel the weight of geological time pressing around you. There is no infrastructure, no guards or gift shops, just raw, untouched nature unfolding its newest miracle. You do not talk much here. You trace the lines with your eyes, breathe in the chilled, mineral air, and let your heart try and make sense of a beauty that feels like it was never meant to be seen. Hidden beneath the sapphire swells of the Indian Ocean, just off the coast of Mauritius, lies a vision so impossibly perfect, it feels like an illusion cast by the sea itself. The underwater waterfall illusion, a visual phenomenon near Le Morne, Brabant, that, from above, appears as a mighty waterfall plummeting into the abyss. Yet it is merely sand and silt dancing through currents along the drop-off of the ocean floor. To witness it from a helicopter is to be suspended above a miracle. The coastline curves in lush green, Le Morne Mountain rises in stoic grandeur, and then suddenly the sea opens. The blues darken, deepen, spiral. Sand trails off like smoke through an invisible portal, a cascade without sound, tumbling forever into blue. It is a visual symphony composed by wind, water, and gravity, and no man-made artifice can compare. From sea level, the illusion disappears. The water remains impossibly clear, the reef vibrant with life, parrotfish flashing neon hues, turtles gliding like gentle ghosts, corals pulsing with subtle movement. But it is from above that this secret is revealed. There is no danger in it, only wonder, a trick of light and depth that turns geology into spectacle. The site lies just beyond the shallow reef lagoon, where turquoise fades into cobalt and coral gardens give way to ocean trenches. Le Morne itself, once a refuge for escaped slaves and now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, adds to the sacredness of the landscape. It's not just the illusion that makes this place special. It's the layers of history, the fusion of myth and geography, the harmony of air, land, and sea. Pilots know to hover slowly, to let the view soak in. Tourists fall into hush. Words are inadequate. The illusion touches something older than logic, whispering that the world still holds secrets grand enough to silence even the most restless mind. Carved into the rolling hills of southern China, the Yuanyang rice terraces unfold like a painter's vision. Layer upon layer of liquid glass cascading down the slopes in perfect harmony. Here in Yunnan province, where the Han people have shaped the land for over 1,000 years, art and agriculture merge into a living masterpiece. At dawn, the terraces catch the sky's reflection, transforming into a tapestry of shifting color. Rose gold, lavender, sapphire, mirroring clouds and sun like 1,000 tiny mirrors. Mist drifts through the valleys like a gentle tide, weaving in and out of the terraced walls as if the mountains themselves are exhaling. In the quiet hours, the only sounds are the soft rustle of wind in bamboo and the distant call of birds gliding above the shimmering paddies. There's an intimacy here, a closeness between humanity and earth. Each tier is hand-carved, every pool carefully filled, a rhythm maintained over centuries. It's a sacred choreography between people and place, and it radiates with a serenity that feels eternal. In the heart of Bosnia and Herzegovina, far from the better-known cities, lies the enchanting town of Blagaj, where serenity flows from both stone and stream. At the base of a sheer 200-meter cliff, the emerald waters of the Buna River burst forth from the depths of a cavern, clear and cold and eternal. Nestled beside it is a 16th-century dervish monastery, whitewashed and reflected perfectly in the tranquil water below. Time slows here. The monastery's carved wooden balconies overlook a river that sings of purity, of beginnings. Inside, the scent of old books and incense lingers in the air, and the sound of prayer blends with the echo of the river beyond. Swallows dart in and out of the cavern mouth, and the surrounding landscape, verdant and wild, feels untouched by modern time. Blagaj is a place of peace so deep it feels sacred, a hidden confluence of earth, spirit, and water, where the soul finds quiet and the heart finds stillness. Cradled in the emerald arms of the Carpathian Mountains, Romania's Apuseni Natural Park is a theater of subtle grandeur. Here, the drama is not of towering cliffs or crashing waves, but of hidden glades bathed in golden light, moss-covered grottos, and rivers that vanish into underground labyrinths. The forest is ancient, alive, branches gnarled like old hands, trunks bearing the scars of centuries. At sunrise, a thin mist curls through the trees, and the forest floor glistens with dew like a field of scattered stars. The air is filled with the murmur of unseen springs, the rustle of foxes in the underbrush, and the occasional call of a distant owl. Beneath the earth, the Scarasawara ice cave holds a glacier older than the pyramids, encased in a cathedral of stone and frost. Flickering torchlight reveals curtains of ice, stalactites frozen in eternal descent. Above, shepherd paths wind through meadows ablaze with wildflowers, and wooden crosses mark the places where heaven and earth are said to meet. The Apuseni is not loud in its beauty. It whispers it deeply, eternally. Rising from the flame-colored soil of southern Utah like a secret citadel, the toadstool hoodoos form a surreal kingdom sculpted by time and tempest. The name sounds whimsical, and the landscape looks like something pulled from a forgotten dream. Slender spires of stone crowned with broad caps of ancient rock, frozen mid-balancing act. Each one stands like a sentinel in this quiet desert amphitheater, a monument to erosion and patience. The trail begins in stillness, winding through dry riverbeds flanked by walls streaked in pastel hues, pale pinks, oranges, and bone-white beige. You walk surrounded by silence so profound, even your heartbeat feels intrusive. Then, as the wash bends, the hoodoos appear, dozens of them, tall, fragile, impossibly poised. The contrast is striking. Soft Entrada sandstone supports massive slabs of harder Dakota rock, balanced like forgotten relics left by titans at play. Their forms shift as you walk around them, from proud figures to squat creatures to alien watchtowers depending on where the sun rests in the sky. Touch them, and the rock crumbles into fine powder. Look at them, and they seem eternal. Above, the sky blazes cobalt blue, and a wind full of grit threads its way through the labyrinth of spires, whispering stories older than memory. There are no crowds here, no fences, just the wind, the earth, and the eerie knowledge that these formations are temporary, caught mid-disappearance. You may be the last to see a particular hoodoo before it surrenders to gravity. That knowledge deepens the experience, sharpens your senses, and when you leave, the trail winds back through the open desert, the hoodoos watching you go. Their silence feels like a blessing. Far in the southern reaches of Chilean Patagonia, where roads end and silence begins, lies the glacial paradise of Laguna Cerro Castillo. A trek through thick lenga forests and across icy rivers finally yields the breathtaking sight of the lagoon. An electric blue mirror cradled beneath jagged black spires frosted in snow. The wind here is fierce, scouring the land with icy fingers, but it only adds to the fierce, untamed beauty of the place. The mountains, sharp as broken glass, form a natural fortress around the lake, and avalanches thunder occasionally in the distance like distant drums of the wild. Wild horses roam freely, their manes tangled in the breeze, and the scent of wild mint clings to the air. Few footsteps echo here. Laguna Cerro Castillo is not a place one stumbles upon. It must be sought, and even then, it reveals itself slowly, like a creature peeking from behind the curtain of the world. And when it does, it stays with you, etched in the soul like a song without words. In a forgotten corner of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the world takes a breath and unfolds into the emerald cradle of Krupa na Vrbasu. Here, the Vrbas River curves like a ribbon of living jade through the Dinaric Alps, flanked by cliffs draped in wildflowers and ancient trees. The river doesn't rush, it glides, carrying with it the whispers of centuries and the reflections of sky and stone. Just outside the village, a series of small waterfalls and natural pools shimmer beneath weeping willows, their waters cold and pure as melted snow. There is a bridge here, centuries old, built of pale stone and still holding its graceful arch across the river. Locals call it the Roman Bridge, though its true origins are wrapped in the mists of legend and forgotten stories. It's not grand, but it holds the magic of permanence, of something that has watched time flow by like the river beneath it. Monasteries carved into the cliffs above seem to float in the clouds, their bells echoing down the valley like the call of another world. In the early light, mist curls from the water like incense, cloaking everything in a silver veil. The air smells of moss, wet rock, and the faint sweetness of river blossoms. It's a place where footsteps soften, where voices fall to whispers. The colors are rich and saturated, greens too vibrant to describe, blues that seem impossible outside of dreams. Fishermen in wooden boats drift silently, their movements so still they seem to become part of the landscape. Time forgets itself here. The outside world dims, and in the hush between bird call and breeze, Krupa na Vrbasu invites you to not just look, but to feel, to listen, to breathe, to belong. In the northern reaches of Pakistan's Hunza Valley, tucked beneath the soaring summits of the Karakoram, the village of Pasu gazes silently across one of the most awe-inspiring backdrops on the planet. Here, the cathedral-like Pasu cones rise in jagged procession, their knife-edge peaks dusted with eternal snow, reaching into a sky that blazes cobalt by day and erupts with stars by night. The air is sharp with altitude and silence, broken only by the whisper of glacial wind and the occasional cry of an eagle overhead. Ancient footbridges dangle over ice-fed rivers, and apricot orchards bloom defiantly against the harshness of the terrain. The land feels both eternal and ephemeral, as if suspended between earth and myth. Locals walk with quiet pride, their culture etched into the stones of centuries-old homes and the warmth of shared tea. Pasu is not just a place, it is a hymn to endurance, where beauty stands defiant against the elements, carved into the very bones of the mountains. Off the coast of Croatia, where the Adriatic Sea holds secrets in its sapphire depths, the island of Bishevo cradles a marvel known only to those willing to chase light with timing and devotion. The blue cave, Modra Shpilja, is not visible from the surface. One must sail, then switch to a low-slung boat, then duck low as a guide navigates a tiny sea-level entrance into the grotto's darkened heart. And then, as the sun reaches its apex, the miracle occurs. The cave floods with electric blue light, as if 1,000 lanterns had ignited beneath the sea. The source is sunlight, refracted through the submerged entrance and bouncing off white limestone seabeds, creating a supernatural glow that bathes everything in iridescent azure. Objects dipped into the water appear as silver phantoms. Fish shimmer like flickering holograms. The walls themselves gleam with an inner fire. No photograph, no description can prepare one for the intensity of the color. It is not simply blue, it is a blue that lives, that pulses, that breathes. It envelops visitors in silence, broken only by the soft splash of oars and the occasional gasp of awe. The air is dense with salt, and the cave ceiling weeps gentle droplets that fall like blessings from above. The experience lasts only minutes. When the sun shifts, the light fades, and the cave returns to shadow. But those minutes are eternal. The world outside seems dim after them. Your eyes have glimpsed something mythical, a hidden chamber where Poseidon might keep his secrets. Locals say the cave has always been here, long before tourism, before kingdoms, before borders. It existed for those who knew how to look, who understood that wonder does not announce itself loudly. It waits in silence, in darkness, until the precise moment when nature opens a hidden window. And then, just for a moment, magic pours in. In the heart of the Ethiopian highlands, where legends intertwine with the landscape itself, there rests a place of sacred wonder, the Geralta Mountains. Unlike any other mountain range, these towering red sandstone spires emerge from the earth like fingers reaching skyward, each cloaked in mystery and devotion. Hidden within these vertical cathedrals are rock-hewn churches carved directly into the cliff faces by monks centuries ago, reachable only by scaling sheer walls and crawling through narrow crevices. One such church, Abuna Yamata Gu, defies belief. Carved into a vertical cliff 2,580 meters above sea level, its ancient frescoes still glow with vibrant reds and ochres, untouched by time or weather. Inside, the silence is alive, vibrating with the prayers of generations past. From this perch, the world unfolds in endless waves of ochre and olive, a living mosaic of valleys and peaks. The Geralta isn't just scenery, it's sanctity made stone, a place where faith and landscape are carved from the same divine hand. Tucked between the sand-swept ruins of Jordan's lesser-known landscapes lies a mirage made real, Wadi bin Hamad, a lush canyon of hanging gardens and warm waterfalls hidden within a desert kingdom. The entrance is unassuming, a dusty road, a dry valley. But step into its mouth and the world transforms. Vertical cliffs rise like towering walls, and from their flanks spring unexpected life. Ferns, mosses, fig trees clinging to cracks where water seeps. A stream runs through the canyon's heart, its waters warm and clear, inviting barefoot passage through natural pools and over gentle cascades. Sunlight filters down in narrow beams, illuminating water droplets as they fall like stars. The further you walk, the more surreal it becomes. An oasis carved into stone, hidden beneath layers of silence and heat. Birds nest in tiny alcoves above, and the air buzzes with a quiet electricity. Wadi bin Hamad isn't just a hidden gem. It's a secret garden, blooming where none should grow. In the sun-scorched desert east of San Diego, where the land seems too barren for beauty, there rises a surreal sanctuary of stone, the wind-sculpted world of Anza Borrego's slot canyons. These narrow, winding passageways slice through golden sandstone like veins through ancient skin. To walk them is to enter another realm. Light filters down in sheets, soft and golden, illuminating smooth walls that curve and fold like frozen waves. Each step forward is a passage deeper into silence. The temperature drops. Footsteps echo. Your hand brushes against stone still warm from the sun, as your body weaves through gaps so tight they steal your breath. At times, the sky disappears entirely, replaced by a ribbon of light that dances above your head. The earth here is not flat. It ripples and undulates in sculpted forms that defy geometry. No trail signs, no guide rails. Just you and the canyon, a dialogue between the ancient and the transient. Sometimes the walls rise 100 feet, sheer and close enough to touch both sides at once. And then suddenly, it opens. A flash flood basin scattered with polished pebbles and the bleached bones of wind-stripped wood. Time doesn't pass here. It coils. You can see the memory of water in the smoothed edges, feel the pressure of eons in every turn. The sun, when it returns, strikes the upper walls with fire, turning them molten orange while the depths remain cloaked in cool shadow. These canyons are sacred in their silence. They demand reverence, not noise. Awe, not conquest. And as you emerge, blinking into the blinding desert light once more, the world seems too loud, too modern. You'll crave the hush of sandstone, the secrets it keeps, the invitation it extends, quiet, wordless, eternal. Rising from the verdant forests of Sri Lanka's central highlands is a place that seems born from legend, Lake Gala, a jagged monolith of rock soaring abruptly from the jungle floor. Lake Gala is as imposing as it is enigmatic. Shrouded in myth as the resting place of the demon king Ravana, it looms with a kind of sentient presence. Climbing Lake Gala is a test of nerve and reverence, the path winding through whispering trees and moss-slick boulders before giving way to sheer stone. At its summit, the world uncoils in emerald swells, the Knuckles mountain range folding upon itself like a sleeping dragon. Mist curls along the ridges in serpentine trails, and the calls of unseen birds echo through the valleys like ancestral voices. There are no handrails here, no crowds, no noise, only the raw, untouched breath of a land older than memory. To stand atop Lake Agala is to touch a secret etched into the earth. Amid the wind-blown plains and velvet valleys of Armenia, the Noravank Monastery rises like a beacon of devotion from a canyon of fire-colored stone. Built into the cliffs of the Amagu Valley, its honey-hued walls glow gold at sunset, framed by jagged mountains painted in ochre and crimson. The monastery's intricate carvings and khachkars, Armenian crossstones, tell stories of saints, kings, and endless faith. Steep stairs lead to prayer chambers where candlelight flickers against ancient frescoes, casting long shadows that dance across walls of history. Outside, the silence is profound, broken only by the rustle of wind and the distant cry of hawks wheeling overhead. Noravank is not just architecture. It is spirit-made stone, devotion carved into the bones of the earth. The canyon below feels timeless, and the sky above, endless. It is a place to listen, to feel, to remember the quiet power of belief etched into a mountainside. On the western edge of Slovenia, where the Julian Alps begin to soften into rolling highlands, there is a gorge so hidden, so painterly in its perfection, it could easily be mistaken for a place conjured in a dream. Tolman Gorge is not loud in its beauty. It doesn't roar like great rivers or tower like alpine peaks. Instead, it sings softly, with the kind of wonder that grows with every step you take along its moss-covered trails and beneath its limestone walls. The water here is the color of forgotten gemstones. Milky turquoise, deep jade, transparent topaz. Each bend in the stream, another stroke in a painting still wet with color. Steam sometimes drifts from the earth, a reminder that beneath this fairy tale lies a restless, breathing world of subterranean heat. Natural springs bubble along the trail, warming the stones and scenting the air with minerals. Footbridges span the chasms with quiet grace, giving way to views that make the breath catch. High cliffs rising like cathedral walls, their faces dripping with hanging gardens of fern and ivy. The Devil's Bridge arcs above, a slender thread of man-made defiance connecting two impossible points in space. And beneath it all, the Tolminka River rushes, a ribbon of clarity that seems to glow from within. It weaves through narrow corridors of rock, slipping past caves and waterfalls like it's escaping from another age. In the quietest corners, you can hear the whisper of stone being carved by water, a slow, eternal erosion that shapes both the canyon and your own sense of scale. Tolman Gorge doesn't announce itself with grandeur. It unfolds like a secret poem, each stanza etched into the rock by time, each pause in the path an invitation to lose yourself just a little more. Off the southern coast of Iceland, battered by winds and waves, stands a lone sea stack of legend, Hvítserkur. Rising 15 meters from the North Atlantic, it's shaped uncannily like a prehistoric beast caught mid-drink, its arching form etched with the scars of millennia. Seabirds wheel and cry around its flanks, nesting in crags and hollows. At low tide, a path of black sand and scattered stone leads to its base, and the ocean laps quietly at your feet. The sky here is often tempestuous. Roiling clouds, shafts of light, sudden bursts of snow or sun, but that only adds to the elemental drama. Hvítserkur doesn't feel like part of the earth. It feels older, as though it rose from myth rather than magma. Its basalt base glimmers when wet, streaked with the salt and fury of endless tides. To stand before it is to witness a monument not to man, but to the wild, restless heart of nature itself. On the rugged coast of Portugal's Alentejo region, far from the crowds of Lisbon and the Algarve, lies the untouched paradise of Praia da Amália. Accessible only by a narrow dirt path that winds through a dense pine grove, the beach reveals itself with dramatic flair. High cliffs drenched in golden sunlight, black volcanic rock pools, and an endless stretch of soft, cinnamon sand. Waves crash with thunderous rhythm, sculpting the shoreline into curves and hollows that change with each tide. Wildflowers bloom along the cliff edge, and goats wander the high paths like guardians of the land. The ghost of fado singer Amalia Rodriguez, who once called this cove her sanctuary, lingers in the whisper of the wind and the melancholic song of the sea. It's a place of reflection, of poetry, of the raw beauty that exists between earth and ocean. Here, you do not just see the coast, you feel it in your chest, deep and resonant. Tucked into the folds of Idaho's sawtooth wilderness, where peaks claw at the clouds and alpine lakes hold secrets beneath their mirrored skins, lies Goat Lake, an emerald shard of liquid ice hidden 8,200 feet above sea level. To reach it is no stroll. The trail demands respect. 5 steep miles of dirt and stone, through pine forests heavy with silence and meadows flushed with wild lupine. Waterfalls tumble alongside you as you climb, their voices growing louder with every foot of elevation until the air grows thin and the forest falls away. And then, there it is. The lake, a perfect jewel set in a basin of jagged peaks, still rimmed with snow even in the dog days of summer. The water is impossibly clear, green and blue and steel gray all at once, cold as winter's breath. You'll want to dive in, and when you do, your body jolts awake like it's being baptized in the rawest sense. Around the shore, boulders the size of cabins serve as thrones for silence, and the wind carries nothing but the rustle of pine and the shriek of a distant eagle. Time stops here. The sky feels closer, the world sharper. Some visitors camp by the shore, waking to sunrise, turning the peaks blood red before softening to rose. Others stay only long enough to etch the view into memory. Either way, it marks you. Goat Lake is no roadside attraction. It's a reward, one earned by aching legs and quiet determination. It doesn't beg to be photographed. It simply exists, perfect and hidden, waiting for those willing to ascend into its cold, cathedral stillness. In the deep north of Italy, where the Dolomites rise like jagged teeth from emerald meadows, there is a place where legends take form and light dances as though under a spell. The Alpe di Siusi, Europe's largest alpine plateau, is a world suspended between earth and dream. Rolling pastures stretch endlessly, dotted with wildflowers in the warmer months and blanketed in quiet white through winter's hush. Wooden huts sit like sleeping sentinels beneath mountains that change color with the passing hour. Rosy at dawn, gold by noon, and smoldering crimson as dusk falls. Here, time forgets itself. There are no cities, no wires, no urgency. Just the slow ballet of clouds sweeping shadows across the grass, and the distant song of cowbells carried on the wind like memories from a gentler time. The paths across the plateau unfold like lines in a poem, leading not just to views, but to moments. Moments when you feel, unmistakably, that the land itself is alive and watching. The peaks of the Ciliar Massif loom above, their forms jagged and imposing, yet softened by the embrace of sky. At sunrise, a hush settles so complete that even the breeze seems reverent. Mist hovers low, curling around the barns and fences like a protective spirit. In these hours, the world turns inward. A marmot peers from its burrow. A deer moves with regal grace through the fog, and every footstep feels like a conversation with the past. Villagers tend the fields with hands hardened by tradition, their lives attuned to rhythms modern life has forgotten. This is not merely a landscape, it is a symphony composed by the planet itself, playing in slow motion. The Alpe di Siusi does not ask you to explore. It asks you to feel, to surrender, and to become a fleeting part of something eternal. Beneath a thick emerald canopy deep in the eastern reaches of Poland, there lies a forest that breathes with the memory of the Earth's ancient soul. This is the Białowieża forest, a primeval remnant of what once covered all of Europe, now preserved like a dream just beyond the edge of the modern world. Here, towering oaks stand like sentinels of time, their gnarled limbs entwined in perpetual dialogue with the sky. The forest floor is a spongy mosaic of moss, wildflowers, and decaying leaves that perfume the air with a heady blend of life and renewal. The silence is profound, yet not empty. It vibrates with the soft flutter of wings, the snapping of twigs beneath cautious hooves, the low growl of distant creatures unaccustomed to human presence. A shadow flickers, then emerges. A European bison, one of the last wild descendants of an ancient lineage. Its powerful frame moves with surprising grace, muscles rippling beneath a coat dusted with forest dew. These creatures once roamed from Spain to Siberia, but here, in this sanctuary, they remain as monarchs of an untouched realm. There is no path marked clearly, no signs to direct the visitor, only narrow trails threaded by the footsteps of those who come in reverence, not conquest. Light filters through the dense leaves in soft, golden shafts, illuminating groves where time seems suspended. In these hallowed spaces, trees have fallen and become cradle nurseries for fungi, mosses, and insects. Life rises again and again from the rich soil, stitched with the delicate threads of spider webs, glistening like silver embroidery in the morning mist. When the wind sighs through the branches, it carries stories too old for language, yet deeply understood. One does not merely walk through Białowieża, one dissolves into it. In the untouched corners of Kyrgyzstan's Tian Shan Mountains lies a landscape so vibrant, so improbable, it seems to defy geography, the Skazka Canyon, or Fairy Tale Canyon. This forgotten gorge, nestled near the banks of Lake Issyk-Kul, is a kaleidoscope of eroded sandstone and surreal formations, sculpted by time into towers, dragons, and spires. The canyon breathes in silence, painted in every shade of rust, gold, and crimson, as if fire once licked its flanks and left color in its wake. The air here is thin, sharp with the tang of mineral dust, and the sky above stretches impossibly wide, deep cobalt by day, sequined with stars by night. There are no fences here, no signs, only raw earth and wind. Wandering through Skazka is like stepping into a storybook before the pages were written. Each rock a character, each shadow a forgotten fable. It's a world imagined by nature and left for dreamers to discover. In the deserts of central Iran, nestled against wind-sculpted hills, the village of Abyane glows with a haunting, rose-colored elegance. Its houses, made from red ochre clay, climb the slopes like forgotten verses of an ancient poem. Every door is a portal into time. Centuries-old woodwork, blue-painted windows, intricate lattice screens guarding quiet interiors. The elderly women of Abyane still wear their traditional floral shawls and bloomers, as though fashion has no bearing in a village so timeless. The scent of wood smoke and rosewater hangs in the air, mingling with the dry, mineral wind that whispers through alleys. The mountain looms behind, silent and vast, and shadows stretch long in the golden hour, painting the town in hues of cinnamon and flame. At night, the stars spill across the sky like crushed diamonds, and the silence deepens into something sacred. Abyane doesn't demand attention. It invites reverence, like a forgotten lullaby sung softly across the sands of time. There is no path that leads you to Lake Owyhee without the desert testing your resolve first. tucked deep into the rugged expanse of eastern Oregon, where volcanic rock meets parched silence. This remote reservoir emerges like a secret whispered between the cliffs. Cradled within rust-colored canyon walls and rimmed with jagged buttes, Lake Oahe is a serpentine splash of turquoise water glowing beneath the high desert sun. Wind slices over the lake in long, sighing breaths, rippling the surface until it glimmers like glass crushed and stirred. The isolation here is not a drawback. It's the invitation. You won't find bustling marinas or polished resorts. What you'll find are painted hills older than memory, wild horses carving paths along the rim, and petroglyphs left behind by ancient hands whose stories are etched in basalt. The water, held back by a 1930s dam of Art Deco concrete, shimmers with otherworldly clarity. Stand at the overlook, and the earth falls away into silence, a basin of color and light carved by time and water. In the early morning, mist clings low over the lake, weaving between the cliffs like a spirit reluctant to leave. And when the stars arrive, a billion brilliant points strewn across an unpolluted sky, the reflection is so sharp, it becomes impossible to tell where the heavens end and the earth begins. Lake Oahe is no postcard paradise. It is raw, defiant, and absolutely alive. It demands effort and attention. And in return, it offers you solitude that stretches into eternity, and a wilderness so magnificent, it doesn't need to raise its voice to be heard. Cradled in the arms of Montenegro's untouched interior, a land of towering peaks and primeval forest guards, a secret that murmurs like a lullaby through pine and stone. Biogradska Gora, one of the last 3 virgin forests in Europe, breathes with a rhythm older than memory. It is not a place that shouts its wonders. It breathes them out in silence, in the crunch of leaves underfoot, in the dappled light that slips like whispered gold between towering beech trees that have stood for half a millennium. At the heart of the forest lies Biogradsko Lake, a still and sacred mirror cradled by the embrace of green. Its waters are so calm they seem untouched by time, reflecting the canopy above so clearly that it's impossible to know where the trees end and their reflections begin. The air is thick with the earthy perfume of moss, lichen, and loam. The forest floor a patchwork quilt of soft decay and sudden blooms. Every step brings you deeper, not just into the forest, but into something elemental. Wooden pathways meander like thought through the undergrowth, guiding without intruding. Here, the rules of the outside world dissolve. You are no longer a visitor, but a presence within the living library of a forest that remembers the world before maps. Deer flit like shadows in the periphery, and the wind through the branches hums like a forgotten song. Time has no dominion here. Hours stretch and bend, and you begin to understand how the trees have seen centuries come and go without hurry or concern. In Biogradska Gora, nature is not just scenery, it is spirit. An ever-whispering consciousness of bark, leaf, and breath that wraps you in something deeper than beauty. It wraps you in belonging. In the far reaches of Canada's Northwest Territories, cradled between the granite shields of the Mackenzie Mountains, lies a hidden world of water and fire. Nilicho, Virginia Falls, thunders down the Nahanni River in a furious cascade nearly twice the height of Niagara, yet barely a whisper of it reaches the public imagination. The Nahanni National Park Reserve is no ordinary park. It is wilderness in its purest form, a land of myth and mist, where the veil between the known and the sacred wears thin. To reach it is an expedition, by float plane over infinite forests, or by canoe through narrow river corridors etched by glaciers and time. And then you arrive at the precipice. The roar of Virginia Falls announces itself long before it's seen. The land trembles with its song, a deep, resonant thrum that reverberates through bone and sky. When it comes into view, it steals the breath. The river, wide and stately, narrows to a furious boil, surging toward a brink that splits around a massive rock named Mason's Rock. The water shatters into vapor and thunder, plunging 96 meters into the misty depths below. Rainbows arc in the spray, sometimes 3 at a time, shifting with each minute of sunlight. The cliff walls are steep, green with moss and slick with mist, home to rare orchids and nesting peregrine falcons. Below the falls, the river calms into deep pools flanked by rock that has not changed since the earth was young. Steam rises from hot springs hidden in the forest, where the land breathes warmth into the cold northern air. The Dean people consider this place sacred, a place of spirits, of deep medicine, where dreams walk beside the waking. Their stories linger in the trees, in the rocks, in the rush of water that never sleeps. Beneath the luminous skies of New Zealand's South Island, wrapped in layers of ancient rainforest and crowned by snow-dusted peaks, the blue pools of Haast offer a vision of otherworldly clarity. Fed by glacier melt, the water here is so pristine, it turns an almost unnatural shade of turquoise, glowing beneath a canopy of beech trees like a gem nestled in the earth. A narrow suspension bridge stretches above the pools, its wooden planks creaking softly as you cross. From there, the depths below are revealed, glass clear and bottomless, reflecting the sky and forest in perfect symmetry. Trout hover motionless in the current, suspended as if in a dream, and the only sound is the rush of distant falls and the flutter of leaves. Even in a country famed for its cinematic landscapes, the blue pools feel like a secret, untouched, reverent. To stand on their edge is to feel time pause, the world held in perfect crystalline stillness. In the forgotten highlands of the Philippines, deep within the untouched ranges of northern Samar, lies a sanctuary of emerald enchantment known only to a few, Lulugayan Falls. Not as thunderous as the great giants of the world, but mesmerizing in its breadth. This waterfall fans out like a royal veil spread across a bed of mossy stone. It tumbles gently, then forcefully, a dance between elegance and might. Surrounded by a forest so thick with green it feels like the earth itself is breathing. Lulugayan sings a lullaby of wild purity. The air tastes of rain and soil, rich and mineral, nature's own elixir. You don't hear Lulugayan so much as feel it, the low rumble reverberating through bone and bark alike. Sunlight filters through the dense jungle canopy, casting soft, dappled light across the cascading waters, making the entire scene shimmer like a mirage etched into a dream. It's not a place marked on tourist maps, and yet, in its quiet solitude, it holds a majesty that rivals the grandest icons. Buried within the northern reaches of Montana, away from Glacier's grandeur and the well-worn paths of Yellowstone, lies the isolated jewel of the Yaak Valley. A land of forgotten rivers, moss-draped trees, and mountains lost in mist. The Yaak is a wild, unyielding place, and in its heart flows the Yaak River Falls. You don't stumble upon them, you seek them out. Down gravel roads that chew at your tires, through thick woods that press close like a secret, and then you hear it. The thunder of falling water. The trail is short but steep, a scramble through fir and cedar that feels more animal than human. And then, the falls. Wide, chaotic, primal. The Yak River fans out and roars over terraced rock, a wild white fury that never stops singing. Not tall, but powerful, like nature clearing its throat. The pool below is a swirl of emerald and foam, ringed in slick stone and whispering pine. Mist clings to your face. The roar becomes a heartbeat. There are no signs here, no fences, no warning plaques. Just nature unbuffered. Sit on the rock shelf beside the falls and feel the spray touch your skin. Listen to the echoes bounce through the gorge. Eagles nest above. Bear tracks line the mud. It's not a park. It's not curated. It's real. And because of that, it stays with you. The Yak is a place of thresholds, between wild and tame, known and forgotten. The falls are its voice, crashing through time, singing to those who dare to listen. When you leave, you'll carry more than memories. You'll carry the sound of wild water echoing in your bones. There is a lake high in the Albanian Alps, where the sky forgets to end and the mountains kneel around a body of water so still it seems enchanted. Siri I Kalter, the blue eye, is more than just a spring. It is a sapphire gemstone cradled by ancient forests and wild silence. At first sight, the vibrant turquoise center draws the eyes like a spell. Then, as you watch deeper, it turns darker, richer, a portal to some forgotten world beneath the Earth's skin. Water bubbles up from an underground cavern at unfathomable depths, so deep that even divers have yet to touch the bottom. The cold that rises from it tastes like stone and glacial wind, and the liquid clarity allows you to see every glinting pebble and strand of moss resting on the bed far below. The forest surrounding the spring is thick and brooding. Moss carpets the trunks of trees like nature's velvet, and sunlight pierces through the canopy in long, golden beams that look like stairways to other worlds. The soundscape is one of rustling leaves, the occasional flutter of wings, and the gentle churn of water seeping up from the depths. There's no road hum, no airplane echo, only the rhythm of the earth breathing slowly. Travelers who find it often sit for long moments without words, as though the air itself has become too sacred to shatter. Even the birds seem quieter here, as if whispering secrets they don't want the trees to hear. The blue eye doesn't shout its beauty. It hums with it. A slow, ancient song played by water, light, and time. It feels less like visiting a spring, and more like being permitted, just for a moment, to witness something the world wasn't entirely sure it wanted to share. In the remote wilderness of Namibia's Namib-Naukluft National Park, where the desert breathes in silent dunes and the wind carves secrets into sand, there lies a place where time has turned to stillness and color to fire. Deadvlay. It is a clay pan, a fossilized oasis, a forgotten graveyard of trees that have not rotted in over 600 years. Surrounded by the towering orange dunes of Sossusvlei, some of the highest in the world. Deadvlei is a painting made real, an abstract of earth tones so surreal they seem conjured from a dream. The approach is otherworldly. The sun blazes above, casting sharp shadows over undulating dunes that burn crimson at sunrise and deepen to blood red by twilight. And then suddenly, the sand gives way to white. Parched, cracked clay stretching out like ancient parchment. Scattered across this white canvas are the twisted skeletons of camel thorn trees, their blackened limbs frozen mid-reach, like dancers turned to ash in the act of worship. They stand in silence, dead yet unfallen, preserved by the arid air and absence of decay. Around them, the land is motionless, scorched, celestial. The contrast between the white pan, the burnt trees, the orange dunes, and the endless cobalt sky is so vivid, it leaves the mind stunned, suspended in awe. It is the color of reverence, of reverie, of reverent disbelief. There is no sound but the wind, and even that seems hesitant to intrude. Every footstep echoes too loudly. Every breath feels too alive. You move slowly, not out of fatigue, but out of instinctive respect, aware that you have entered a cathedral not made by hands, but by time, silence, and sun. Photographers often chase Deadvlay's golden hour, when the dunes catch fire and the trees cast impossibly long shadows across the white floor. But even in full light, the scene feels mythic, untouched by the turning of centuries. There is no modernity here, no memory of it. Only the raw bones of a forgotten forest, held in place by the breathless stare of the desert. Hidden in the heart of Norway's Senja Island lies a landscape sculpted by myth, the cliffs of Segla. Towering like a jagged fang over the turquoise waters of the Mefjord, Segla doesn't just dominate the skyline, it pierces it. Hiking here is a pilgrimage of awe, as one ascends the winding path, flanked by alpine blooms and the occasional curious Arctic fox. The view gradually unravels, sweeping fjords, mirror-still lakes, and a coastline etched with silver. Then, at the summit, the earth seems to fall away. Segla's knife-edge ridge drops almost vertically into the sea below, daring the eye to follow its impossible plunge. Wind howls like an ancient song across the peaks, and even the clouds seem to cling to the rock in reverence. At sunset, the stone ignites in fiery hues, casting long shadows that stretch across the ocean's expanse. Segla is a place that humbles. It doesn't whisper beauty. It roars it into the void.